You're listening to the Out of Production podcast. The following conversation is with Crazy John Brooks. You know, for me, Crazy John Brooks is a mentor, a friend, an idol, and somebody that I just respect at every single level. I first met Crazy John Brooks when I was 10 years old as I was carrying a log across the fairway of hole 3 at De La Viega. We instantly became friends. Crazy John saw something in me, and I saw a mentor and an icon in my eyes. He was always there for me. He always told me to be professional. He taught me how to be successful, and he also told me that the show is always just as important as being a great competitor. You know, tonight's conversation, we don't even touch on disc golf, barely at all. We talk about Crazy's childhood. We talk about his adventures from college to Kansas City, to the culture of Kansas City, and eventually captaining and championing and leading the Bud Light Frisbee team, traveling worldwide, performing at NFL football games, NBA basketball games, and in the rock sphere of popular culture. Crazy John is not just an amazing Frisbee athlete, but he's a serious promoter, businessman, friend, and overall just a fantastic person. It was honestly hard to say goodbye at the end of the conversation, but we look forward to many, many more times to spend with Crazy John Brooks. Well, before I give too much away or before I start crying, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy Crazy John Brooks. Crazy John Brooks, thank you so much for doing this with us. It's great to see you.
Yeah, look at us now. Oh, shit.
Well, I love the background, specifically the Bud Light poster. That is one of my favorites, and that's one of my favorite times of your life. And I look forward to talking about that. But no, seriously, and you also have the De La Viega one there that's just behind you.
Yeah, you betcha.
Yeah, right there. That's hole 17. And I think that was that was Gravity, and that's a trophy probably.
Yes, sir. That's our trophy.
Yeah, that's right. That was when I caddied for you. And was that in Masters? Was that in 40 plus?
It was.
Yeah.
Let's see. This was. Hold on a second. You know what that was? That's the first one.
It was probably still 35 plus.
It was. There was a short amount of time when it was 35 plus.
That's 95, so that's 35.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I believe you and I won in 98. Does that sound familiar?
Yes, that sounds familiar. I probably was
out for the Worlds next year.
Yes, and I think we were together in 95 as well as far as caddy player relationship.
Yep.
But
yeah.
So Crazy John Brooks, first and foremost, I want to sort of preface all of this for the people out there that don't really know you. And I think I can preface this only through my way of knowing you, which was I first met you, I believe, in 1995. It was either 94 or 95. And I met you out at De La Viega. And you were playing a practice round, I think. And me and my dad were carrying logs and sticks across the fairway of 3. And you were playing hole 3 down the hill. And you decided to, make fun of me. I was like 9 years old, but I was huffing the branches across the way. And you and I have been inseparable ever since. And
isn't that crazy?
It's wild. It's wild. That was 31 years ago. But I want to go back even before that. And I want to start with a young Crazy John Brooks. And I want to get to know, and you've told me this a little bit here and there, bits and pieces, but I want to get to know Crazy John in the early days when you were 10. Mm-hmm. What was it like when you were a kid growing up there in Kansas City?
Man, first of all, I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi. So born in Columbia, Missouri, lived there till excuse me, went to Kansas City for a few years and then to Jackson. So 10 years old, I was kind of on my own, a little bit of a latchkey kid. Most of us were in that day. So I was going to public schools, walking home. My fourth grade teacher lived next door to us. My mom and I grew up, we lived at 420 Lawrence Road. So, and Lawrence would become my stepfather, that it would have that name. So that's kind of ironic. But I was just, kind of off on my own island back then, even spent a lot of time by myself. I remember when I was 10, when I was in the fourth grade, I got my first Frisbee. I got a master Frisbee. So I didn't know what to do with it then, but it was on TV. So sooner or later, I did get into that. So that's a bit of a magic number of mine. But some of the fun you have in Jackson when you're 10, playing dead in the middle of the street, trying to avoid getting run over with your buddies. I'd wait till the last second. I'd make them shit their pants. But, you ride your bike, follow the fog machines around, follow the mosquito fogger. That's why I can only close my left eye just partially. But and run away from my mom when she had the holly switch. That's where I got my speed from. Yeah. So, I had great childhood, super adventurous, grew up basically with my grandma and grandfather raising all of us, my mom included. She was more like a sister growing up. And my aunt, Betsy, just a few years older. So it was a bit of a lone journey because I was on my own a great deal. So a lot of curiosity that still runs in the veins.
Crazy, speaking to those younger days, first of all, were you an only child then? Was it just you?
Yeah, born. Yeah. I was on my own till I got my sister Beth Ann was born when I was 13. Then my brother Larry when I was 15. So I was living in Kansas City, going to high school then.
Yeah,
and Terry, good to see you, and great we can talk. And proud of you, bud. Good to see you still there in the seat, pulling more than your own weight.
Yeah, thank you. I've got plenty of that. And we're going to talk more about how I'm even in this seat, how Nate Doss is in this seat, and some of the trails that you were blazing. We're going to get to all of that. But yeah, more on the history of you as a kid. So many people tell us about, we all have that story of when you were first given, whether it was a first disc, if you're old enough, or just a Frisbee or a flying saucer, or anything that represented, something that we were throwing in the air, whether it was at a target or to a friend to catch. I know you were given that very early. How popular? Bring us into the Frisbee culture of, the 70s, the 80s, whatever. It's not like today. Today, kids, we're not going to go out in the street, and I'm not going to see a whole block full of kids just throwing Frisbees around. It was different back in that day, right?
Well, sure. It was rare just for obvious reasons. It just barely got out of its shell, outside of the California and, the East Coast. So, yeah, and especially Mississippi. This was, I think my mom got it because it was, a crazy gift and something I didn't have and didn't cost too much. But the master just sat around for a while. I do remember a year or two before, maybe I'd got for Christmas a set of the 3 Olympic ring mini discs. So, that's something we both flew around in the house. My mother was a pianist. And so, it's mostly music all day, all night. With her practicing. So, we'd play all kinds of games. She bought me a drum set so I could be her accompaniment. So, we were really into it. Kind of had our own little review going there at 420 Lawrence Road. So the Frisbee, once I say the Frisbee, as opposed to the mini, but can't really do shit with minis unless you're, kind of down the road a little bit with things. But the master, I caught on pretty quick. I'd seen a couple of the commercials that were out back then, which were rare, but the Pepsi, I believe, was the first one that I saw. So the master is huge, in my hand. So I immediately took on the throw it the farthest and throw it the highest kind of stuff, just your basic caveman thinking, and, would throw it over the power lines and have it come back to me just under, or throw it around the pole. But that's it. You're just basically just raw experimentation, just like you would a slingshot or everything else. But that's all you can do. So I literally did nothing till freshman year in high school again. It was just off of the map for me. That's all. But it was fun.
Yeah, inventing games, finding ways. I mean, who would have guessed that was some early versions of an MTA or a TRC or whatever. You were essentially playing some form of Frisbee discipline, but you didn't necessarily know there was a name for it, and you were just out there having fun with your buddies. What year was that? I don't even know if we've set
with my buddies. That's by myself.
Oh,
Sorry,
by yourself.
myself.
Yeah, okay,
there was nobody to play with. No, I played by myself.
Then I started thinking about freestyling and how that's something you could do alone. But was there? Had you seen a freestyler? Did that exist? Was that happening?
No, not in my childhood at all. Mm-mm. I didn't see freestyle until I was at college. I was at Ole Miss, and the Coppertone fly-in came through town. So I saw Tex, Wingo, and Tom Monroe came through town. So that was my first jam that I had seen. That was a blast. Blew my mind.
So bring us to, you're I think you were just saying a freshman. Bring us to the first time you're seeing somebody do either an athletic move or a professional move with a Frisbee in any capacity, whether that was freestyle or an MTA or a discathon or disc golf, whatever. What was like, bring us to that moment when you're like, oh, they're doing some shit with this Frisbee. I should try that.
Well, organized play was the Magnolia State tournament. It was called the Magnolia State Flying Disc Festival, and that was on campus at Ole Miss. Let's see, Steve, sorry, he set the whole thing up. I would go to, I had marching band at 11 o'clock, so I would sit around from 10 to 11 and watch some other kids out there playing on the gridiron that the marching band was going to go on. So one day, one flew off of the field, and I tossed it back to him, and, it went where I wanted it to. So they invited me into the Huck, and, so I started doing that, and that's all. And then the tournament happened. That was probably March of second semester. So, that's when I saw the Coppertone. We had, his name was Steve Kelly. And that's where we played disc golf, on the trees and around the campus, the beautiful campus there in Oxford, Mississippi. It was just incredible. So they had great course, your fairly basic campus golf. I was just amazed. And he had some 40 molds, what have you, stuff, not golf discs back then, but yeah, he had some discs that he let out. So, and then the tournament was on the same gridiron where we practiced marching band. Freestyle was singles back then. So each player would get up and have like 3 minutes to hot dog it. And the local guy, Steve, asked me to be his thrower. So we did that. But yeah, watching the distance, and this all happened in one day's time. My whole life changed. I was really enamored. I generally saw the athleticism for sure. I saw it. I mean, it may not have looked very conventional, but you still had to haul ass and put all you had into it. So I like anything in that realm, just like music. If you play an instrument, you got to be all in or ain't nothing going to come out. So anything worthwhile, that is, come out, but worth listening to. And so, I generally fell in love in the one day, in a Saturday's time.
What year was that? I think we keep.
Yeah,
one thing we haven't touched
78.
on.
1978.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So roughly
Yeah.
September, you're saying, or October of
March.
March of
March
78. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a womb somewhere, ready to enter.
Musically, Craze.
Not as big of a womb as you're in right now.
Good call.
Musically, Crazy John. I mean, we're talking to you right now because you're a legendary figure in the Frisbee and disc world. But as long as
here in this house,
as long as I've known you, throughout the universe, but as long as I've known you, music has always been a part of our relationship. You and I've always seen you. You generally travel with a trombone, and
you betcha.
And what did that come from your mom? And has playing music and being a part of music just been a common thread for you throughout your whole life?
Nate, thank you, for remembering, that you remember that how important it is to me. So, yeah, I think I'm kind of keeping my promise, too, with my mom, who's definitely a complete and total musician and, performer of any sorts. And then my dad was a great singer when he was in high school and college. He was actually in the choir and on the wrestling team out on Long Island at South Huntington High School. So he could, he could tell you a story about getting challenged a few times, the choir boys and the football players. Hey, so, I always thought that was funny about people. So, the music was, it was an option. Remember, I'm just I'm an only kid, not lonely, definitely only though. And, I needed something. Football was great, but it just wasn't that much fun. And the horn, I was living in Clarksville, Mississippi then, went to a school there, Lee Academy, and the band director was literally asking, okay, who wants to play? And he'd hold up an instrument and people would raise their hands. And then he held up the trombone and not one person. I'm like, fuck, come on. It's cool. I think I know what that sounds like. And I just said, the hell with it, and I became a trombone player that day. So a bit of a late starter. So I do feel blessed. I was able to cover a lot of ground in kind of a short period of time. I did major in music at Ole Miss and studied here in Kansas City with a couple great instructors. And, the horn has really taken me in some incredible places, just talking. And even in the Frisbee circle. So Frisbee Coleman, a freestyler, incredible Hall of Famer, FPA Hall of Famer. He's the keyboardist for a band called The Schwag, super popular, United States touring, Grateful Dead experience band under Jimmy Tebow. So Frisbee Coleman he's on the road a lot. The band is doing a gig here in Kansas City for the World Cup. That's another circle that overlap with music and Frisbee. So we've been able to perform lots of times together, like Uptown Theater. And when he was living in Austin, he was working with all the greats, Eric Johnson. He's friends with Stevie, the different times when we were, running into Stevie Ray a lot. Frisbee was also in the mix with Chris Whipper, worked in the same studio right down the street from him. So for some reason, definitely with luck being part of it, I think music has helped keep me kind of in the center lane a lot of the times, because if Frisbee wasn't working out that great, or Frisbee, the off seasons, we had off seasons back then, music, it would do something to keep me going, or at least keep the soul warm, by playing, because you don't have to really have two in the room. So I think it's a real blessing. Another one of the blessings that I do call of mine, it's really important. It saved my life a couple of times too, just keeping me happy and busy, keep my mind on the positive. So
has it always been the trombone? Yeah,
percussion, you have to have a minor in in college, if you're going to major in a performance major, you need to have a minor or you have to do theory. So I was just doing stand-up percussion. I was writing my own pieces, in theory and analysis. My teacher loved me. I'd come in and we'd do these 8 bars exercises. Almost every day you'd have to come up with a new 8-bar, 8-piece. So I would reach out to my trombone guys in jazz and band and orchestra and have the trombones come in and play it live for the class. And they would just, I said my teacher would cry sometimes. Miss Adele, Dr. Adele. And so she was real inspiring. And I think music is a big part of my safety blanket, like Frisbee and music. Maybe my 2 biggest swords, other than wanting to love, and spread love.
What? So at that, you're going to college. You discover, discs and frisbees and everything else. You're in college.
And some other shit too.
And I'm sure you found some other stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, at what point, let's just go ahead a couple years to senior year. You're working on this degree. Where do you think life is taking you at that point? We're talking, 80, 82-ish. Where do you think life is taking you with this music degree and the introduction of Frisbee in your life?
All right. So let's go back just real quick, just a little bit. Let's go back. Mm-hmm. Senior year? What are you talking about? What? No, I graduated as a freshman. What are you talking about? Hell no. No, I got out of there as soon as I could. Once I had the Frisbee, it was on the brain, Terry. I had been just crushed. I was overwhelmed. So I'm literally, I think I remember, it seems like, they were calling me they weren't calling me Crazy John back then. They were calling me other things because I left my scholarship. I dropped it, and I was just out in front of the dorm every day trying to learn the nail delay. And that was, for the last month of school. So I just had very little, back then I'm getting an allowance of $10 every Friday. My mom would send me. So life was different back then. And so as soon as I could, I hitchhiked back to Kansas City. And me and that 30-pound Olds, oh my God, the huge case. It was one of the lunk. Looked like a machine gun. But I hitchhiked back with that. As soon as I got back, I ran into a guy named Greg Verdakis in Kansas City, and he was just out at Luce Park. Beautiful. It's our central park here in Kansas City. Epic. The site of the first country club in Kansas, private golf course in Kansas City. And he was out throwing these huge MTAs with a 141. And this guy looked like a Greek god. He's out here just throwing MTAs one after another. And I just went up. We started hanging out. We just started hucking every day. So, and I slowly worked my way into the community here, which is super young. This is Tom Ingles' doings out here. Tom Ingle and Ace Mason, for the most part, are the ones that propagated our very first Frisbee family. Just as it were. And Tom's big groundswell was the 79 North American Series tournament here. A lot of our still local family, like C.D. Steiner and Hal Baby Kurz and some others, that was their first big major event. So that was a huge springboard. Was my first event. That's where I met Suzanne. So July 14th and 15th was a big weekend for a lot of. I remember I was a lifeguard at Hillcrest Country Club. I had to haul ass. I was totally late. Showed up late. I'm in my guard suit, and next up from Minneapolis, it was Chico Mackey, Chico Mackey, and John Crazy or Brooks or whatever. I don't know. I don't think I was Crazy John back then, but truth.
Man, I feel like there could be a whole podcast just on you being a lifeguard. What? So how does that happen?
Terry,
you need work, man. You got to work.
You need to get out there, research. Yeah, it was fun.
Okay.
Another Frisbee connection. Okay, as it were.
Okay.
Rand Roble lived here in Kansas City. He was going to Vassar College out east. He was big ultimate player, great player. He came to. Oh man, you're gonna love this. So Rand Roble, he's in a Corvair, a blue Corvair convertible. Great little party car. We were playing Frisbee. He said, "Hey, we need a new guard at Hillcrest Country Club." I go, "Okay." So I snagged the job. Guess who? Oh boy, have I got? Guess who he was dating back then? 1979. Rand Roble. I couldn't believe it because I saw her throw. I go, wow, she's pretty good. I mean, one of the first people I saw a female player really, pop them out there. Great snap, great balance. Both halves balanced. You got to take a guess. 1979. She got pretty good after that.
Amy
There is no
Beckett?
clock. I don't.
That was gonna be my
I
guess.
believe she's living in
Chris
I believe she's
O'Cleary?
living in St. Louis back then. It was Vanessa Chambers.
Vanessa. Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
But another one of our world champions.
Mm-hmm.
Around, and I'm saying all these little stories. So Terry, I agree. I mean, I really do. I feel so lucky. But there is some order to the chaos here. I'm blessed with a fairly damn good memory. Thank God thank goddess that most of this stuff is some of it's documented well. Other it's just at least gathered notes. But I think I've saved a lot of cool things, and then I've been blessed with, like I said, a bit of a memory too. So a lot of people have some fun with it when it comes to story time.
Yeah. So, you're talking about that big event. I think you said 79, maybe established there and some of the other greats that, we know and names that we've come to know and love as staples. What, to this day, Kansas City still is a metropolis hotbed of disc golf. It still feels like it has so much history and legendary conversation from it. What is that
For
scene?
sure.
Is it any bigger or better than anywhere else in the country? What's the Frisbee scene in the late 70s, early 80s there?
Late 70s. Now I left in 81, I think 82. I left. But Kansas City, so in a nutshell, the Tom Engel era started with mostly about fellowship and then some organization, because that's, one really helps the other. So we were meeting at Gillum Park at the South End, and he had designed this beautiful 18-hole object course around this park and sent right in the middle of Midtown Kansas City. And we would gather at the south end of the park. Could be a dozen sometime, could be 20, 30 another time, but it was a Saturday picnic. It was guaranteed every Saturday morning. We launched down there. He'd get a DJ. We'd play ultimate. Oh my God, I had one of the craziest plays ever at that park. And, that's, that's a bit of I would call a timestamp for the family to be kind of organized. So that's, the summer of 78. I'm sorry. I came into that group in the fall of 78. By the time 79 came around, Tom was on fire. He's living right across the street at Susie Brown's house. And so he was he was just a godsend, because we needed organization. We're starting to get more and more people. It was so fun. Remember, everybody's learning at the same time. That's another great environment. It's when you got somebody that's really good and 84 others that suck. What you had back then was this fervor to get better as fast as you could and to learn a different trick a day, a different trick an hour, throw it farther than you did the last time. The ultimate games were great because we had these standouts like Dave Carr, this amazing sidearm, and, Goldie Norton and his sister Mabel. And that's, he owned the Frisbee house at 2913 Grant where Ace Mason lived, and Dan Murphy, and, doing the Buddhism thing back then. And we'd have these toga parties. The whole Frisbee family would show up. And, so that once we could count on that Saturday, then he would start organizing the ultimate part. And now he'd have an ultimate tournament. He founded KC Ain't No Bull Ultimate. It's the first organized ultimate in the Midwest here. And, this is about the same time the tunas in St. Louis we consider that on the other side of the world, St. Louis, So just FYI, it's at the other end. So what they do, we don't do those things here. But, Tom wanted Kansas City to have its own intellectual property and its own oomph. So, and which we did. So, I mean, he did in just a matter of a couple of years, he organized the Central States Regional, the deal with Eagle Products with Duffy Carduff, and he swung that whole deal. He bought, they put a storefront together in Kansas City, on Westport Road, Cowtown T-shirts. And that was where he launched Flying Frontier. The brand Avery Jenkins collects the Flying Frontier line. That's Tom Ingalls doing, John MacArthur artist. So, all that happened really in just a couple of years' time. After this 79 NAS, people like you were saying, some of the people that we know now, actually, it was only a couple of the famous people that came out. Stork came. I think he wrote in Frisbee World, that next issue that came out, they covered the Kansas City tournament. He says, I think he had 354 chigger bites. I think the story goes, because they slept at the park. And Joe Cahow, and she was like the queen, the princess, and she was there. And, some others, I think, George, I think Kenny Westerfield was there. The greats, that we only see in the magazine, and who would know, later, I'm somehow living with Scott Zimmerman. I mean, explain that, I still don't know how that happened, and how he even got Marcy Cecil's phone number. What the hell? But 2 days later, Sierra Madre, my address. So that's freak show. But, so I think that, being part of that cyclone of energy that Tom Ingle created, and then wasn't but within a year's time, Ace Mason also started his energy swell there in town. There was a bit of a city. There was a bit of a dividing line, although it was crossed frequently. We had the Rosedale Park crew, and then we had the Swope Park Falls Course crew, very allegiant bunch. There was a couple more, rules for the right reasons at Swope Falls Course. Rosedale was on the Kansas side, so it was a bit looser, and not as much of a more of a exposed course layout, I would call. If you've been to Rosedale, you can tell super variety between these two courses. So we are blessed. Our two courses being Swope and Rosedale, really hats off to both of those guys for getting those courses in the ground, because otherwise I think our history would not have been as rich, And then you got to manage it too. Rick Rothstein and Jack Lowe, big hands off for them knowing what to do with it once the other fellas stepped back. So, plenty of thanks due.
What I feel like you kind of just described, though, is some of what would be the earliest ever leagues, right? Now sometimes they're called weeklies, sometimes they're called monthlies, whatever. But you guys were religiously getting together at pretty much a set time and place, Saturday mornings, and having these various competitions and some of the probably earliest organized disc golf. I know you said you're trying to improve and you have all these other people that are learning with you. How competitive is it? Are you guys concerned about, hey, let's host a tournament, let's throw money into this, let's get prizes or get sponsors? Or is this just hey, hey, Joe, you beat me last week, I want to beat you this week? How fierce is that competition?
Yeah, I don't think it started out. It's certainly nothing like what sports has become now with its, with the competitive edge and all of the, underlying, methods of success, be it, ill-gotten or otherwise. But I think it's just a pure love of the activity. And you got to remember, I don't want to be cliche here, man, but initially everybody and anybody that gets exposed to and gets enriched by and enthralled with and consumed by the Frisbee and the flying disc, there's going to activate something in you that cannot be deactivated. So it's just like, with all respect to a lot of sports, you do something so well, that's kind of a given. Okay, yeah, it's the United States best ever. Okay, that's in your blood. But Frisbee is still something that anybody can get excellent at. And there's one thing that's still true with Frisbee is, we've got a lot of rules, regulations, and stipulations, and verifications and certifications. But what we still have also is that we don't have any complainers, people walking around saying, I can't stand this. And because if you don't like it, you don't have to stick around. So I believe in our sport, at least in disc golf, I'm still a Frisbee player. Anybody from my era would say that. I'm a Frisbee player. I think we're not, it's a choice you make, but I think you only have to make it once. And I think it'll affect us all in that similar way. Once you taste that taste, or once you feel that prick on the finger, or once you that cold breeze on a hot day, you're going to want to recreate it. And it's so fun to go out there each day and just in your own mind, in your own sports mentality, just improve on yesterday's performance. That's just what humans do. But in our case, it's so visual. It's so easily trackable and self-adjusting, self-correcting. We can hone our skills so well just by ourselves, just with our own visual. So, you get a lot more results than just a measurement when you play Frisbee. It makes my heart happy, and it's fun with others. So, it's not like you can Nate's a golfer, so I'd say, let's grab one ball and 2 5-irons and go out and hit back and forth. Right? See what I'm saying? Hey, right. Sorry. Remember, I love that. Like back in the old days, you say that so much. Sorry, if you didn't put it right in the breadbasket, you're like, oh, sorry. But, it was all, that's the only reason you improve.
Can I want to continue to give a little love to Kansas City. For me, Kansas City has been like a second home. I first went to Kansas City in 1999. I've been back dozens of times. You being a big part of that reason. Pete Cashin ended up becoming like family as well. I think for me, you two are basically family. But to elaborate on Kansas City a little bit more, you said you left in 82. You get there late 78. But what was it? What is it about Kansas City? Because I'll say every time that I'm there, there's this energy to the city, especially because I'm connected to the disc golfing world, that Frisbee culture bubbling up from the late 70s into the 80s. But what is it about Kansas City? What is it about the energy of that city that made it one of those places? Because Craze, we've talked to a few people already, and we're going to talk to a lot more, but a lot of them were from California. There was this Southern California vibe. Whammo was there, the Rose Bowl, all of those things. But what was it about Kansas City, this Midwestern city, dead center of the country, that made it an epicenter for creativity, for organization, for magazines with Ace and then eventually Rick? What's it about Kansas City? I just elaborate on that, and how important was Kansas City to your creativity, as we know the 80s are going to bring you into a very creative time.
Yeah, man. It was fun dipping into the 70s there a little bit. The values have changed, just because we're so spoiled these days. I think Kansas City's still, able to show a great level of hospitality, a bit of original hospitality, not just crashing on the sofa, even though that was everything back in the day. It's part of that fellowship is due to that cohesive, inseparable group. I mean, there's no cell phones. We're on hardline phone, hitting everybody every morning. What time? Check with him. You call them. I'll call. Let's get around. Okay. And it was a lot more involved just to get there, in a organized fashion, if that. But, I remember we were talking about you coming through here. Remember, we've got Justin Two Names, we got, remember when he was one of my top helpers creating the courses at the Wakarusa. The Wakarusa was a big part of my life. And I know you and Val came through there and stayed at Rancho Mondo at Hal Baby's place. And that was some fun times. But I think Kansas City can pick some real good favorites. The people that do return here feel welcome because they probably brought a good vibe with them. And when I go back, if I think about some of our old friends and the old traveling days, that was usually the first case. It was usually the first priority was to just get back together. We know the Frisbee's coming, but let's get back to us, and we're huggers, at least I am. And you got to take it down to zero each time, really, when you're welcoming people. I think it's just the Kansas City way. And that's a basic. You're going to save a couple $100 by making friends and crashing out somewhere or parking in the driveway. But there's a lot of things that you mentioned there. It wasn't just one groundswell. And as far as, reminds you about the competitiveness, it really wasn't competition other than, like I say, the most fun wins. But we're doing this on a group, just as one big group. We are going to kick ass today, and this is our point of business. And we just allowed some people would just rise to the top in different areas, and that's it. And that's just how it happens, in my opinion. And you want to emulate certain ones, and you want to, try and work around other people. May not be doing it the way you want to do it, but it doesn't mean they're not having fun. So Frisbee is still, I think it's it's the competition is within oneself. And I think that is probably the big reason we see these super performers that we do today. And like in your case, Nate, you too are a super performer where you've done things that some of which are absolutely not normally possible. And it takes only a champion's sort to achieve what you've done. So, that's nobody else did that for you. So I would say, I think the sport as a whole, and now disc golf, now that it has a good solid reign on this fast moving vehicle that we're on as a sport, I think you're still able to control your own fate. And it's still going to rely on you making one at a time good decisions. And the more professional help you can get these days with how to manage yourself, your money, your matters, and your means, the best investment that would be right now, I would say go for it. Have a new fame, a new fortune, and some new fashion. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get my beat. You see what I'm saying? No, the newfound success, man. Guidance is there for good reasons. So, word to the wise.
And that's what I always kind of felt when I was in Kansas City, that everybody was just there for each other, and you don't get a community like that without things that you just explained, the fellowship of things and the community of things, all the names that you brought up, people staying with people, and kind of just making it happen. I want to I just because you said it, and I would forget about it. Can you take a slight tangent over to Wakarusa and kind of explain what that is to people? If you don't know, just fully explain it, and then explain kind of your, I don't know, what did you do out there at Wakarusa? I knew you were a big part of it.
Well, thanks. I created it. So I was working for years at Spirit Fest in Kansas City. It's our biggest event of the year back then. I worked its second 10 years and finished as the program director. This is your, a bit of a run of the mill inner city festival with a large scale main stage lineup. We do maybe 80,000 people a day. So we do a 3-day weekend. So I would do everything. I started out as a fence post pounder volunteer, became a stage carpenter next year. And then they had me on MCing it every year. And then I started to do basically any festival around here. I was site managing and MCing and stuff, having a blast. But what happened that last year at Spirit Fest, we kind of got stepped on. The city pulled a couple things that didn't really help us at all. And so we had to look for a new venture. And I had just come back from visiting. I went out and house sat for Richie Smits in Santa Barbara. He was going back to see his sister. And I was there in Santa Barbara like 10 or 12 days, babysitting the parrot. What's that? Macaw. I can't remember his name. Rocket, maybe? Anyway, and he made me a CD. I had this new favorite band called the String Cheese Incident. I just freaked out. And he made me a copy of the tape live for Red Rocks. Took it back to work at Spirit. And I told Tim Smith, my partner back then, I put that CD down on his desk and I said, if we can get this music, this jam music, outdoors, and nobody has to drive home, we're going to knock it out of the park. And he's like, well, okay, I'll give it a listen. But anyway, just a few weeks later, we're working on outdoor showers and routing. And, I got some bad blood out of the way for Mosman and Smith. And then Pringer came on board. So there's a pretty nice Wikipedia page on the Wakarusa Music and Camping Festival. I was pretty proud of that. But so we put that together in a year's time and then launched in 2004. I just found a handbill the other day. Here's one of we started out with maybe 70 bands the first year, 2 stages. And the fifth year, our first 5 years in Lawrence, Kansas, I had it out at Clinton Lake State Park, where I'd been doing shows out there for years. Awesome park. Jerry Skecker, park director. And our last year, we had 212 bands on 13 stages. So this was 741 acre site, nude beach, 3 9-hole awesome Frisbee golf courses, massive, we swung Widespread Panic and everybody you can imagine. Everybody from just top and down. Robert Randolph, String Cheese. I'd love to, God, I want to get that. So much fun. That's what I did for a while. So I was site management, whatever it took. So, but yeah, the 4 of us founded the Wakarusa. It went for 5 years in Kansas, and then it moved down to Mulberry Mountain in Arkansas. Had some fun down there. So it's like, it was a big part of my life. Some of the most fun I've ever had. That's where I met Justin Atwater Taylor.
Yeah, he always, anytime him and Jatwater. So Justin Atwater Taylor, for those that don't know, is the founder and inventor of the grip bag, and he doesn't own grip anymore, but he'll always be the guy who. I mean, I met him. He's just this skinny little gangly dude with this unbelievable idea to make a better disc golf bag, and he created oh man, what a great product. But anyways, he always
some of the protos, he was the plastic snap together modular parts were his first prototyping. He's living at his grandmother's house, driving like a $40,000 car. It was amazing. Or that Volkswagen, really sweet. But anyway, doing it right and making us proud. And one thing about Justin, I call him just in case. Right. When I call him to meet out there to work, he's like, yeah, sure, I'll meet you out there. But he would come out, I'd be out there in shorts, sunglasses, and some work boots. He'd come out and he'd have his weed eaters and protective gloves and the shin guards and the $400 mask with the screen and the headphones. And he'd pull up in his air-conditioned sports car, it's like, and he'd get out and he would go work for 9 hours straight. He would lose like 12 pounds working and come back. I'm like, you're so small. But he would just bring out his best every time. And did some great chainsaw art too. So, he was just a bundle of fun.
Yeah, and there's a theme, at least in my opinion, that of people that you've affected in a large way, and I think Jatwater is one of those people. I think you really helped him in his early days. He was in college. This is way before the grip bag idea even ever came about, right? The grip bag idea was actually his master's thesis in industrial design. KU. Yeah, at Kansas. That's right. Rock Chalk Jayhawk. And that was his master's thesis. It was an idea to make a better disc golf bag, and I think you were a big part of that. So, man, Walker Russo, what a man! How many bands?
We should mention real quick.
Crazy.
His super friend Nat Marshall was also part of this group, where he and Anna and their beautiful kids. One of the courses is named after Maximilian, and Nat Marshall came up with his design of the basket, the disc golf basket that had a no 90-degree angle basket that kind of came down, but it had a swirl of outer rail. It was a swirl, super cool. And that was his IP on that thing, but he got really close. It was Jatwater and another person and Micah that were doing a lot of the welding on those. So, that effect that Justin has also is very ingenuitive and is super blessed on all floors.
I agree.
But I want to go back to, obviously site management, project management. You're wearing different hats. And I know there's a theme there of music and maybe the theme a little bit of Frisbee, but is there something that you're gravitating to or you're trying to accomplish with every one of these? Is it about having the best time? Is it about advancing your career? What's the end goal while you're doing some of these things? And how much is Frisbee affecting these decisions?
I like the shape of the question too, Terry, because it does. It just helped me realize, I think it's just about performing and entertaining and, downtime. That's what you do when you're an only child, so to speak. You just look for something to do. And in my case, I prefer to deal with as few rules as possible or restrictions. I want to have the most fun, make love, not war, man. So you do what you can do to get close to what makes you feel so exciting. So I think it's all about working around performing and, growing up with my mom as we're performers on the biggest stage of life, every day. So, I love to hear people react like some of these, on the Bud Light team, we would do some of these concerts with over 200,000 people. And, these are delay systems. You're covering a half of a mile on some of these concerts, and I couldn't believe it back then. It was too much going on. Some of the things that would happen that would just blow your mind in a minute when everything is so important live and you can't tell 250,000 people to do anything. All right. They tell you. So, I think it is the most exciting field is entertainment. I've done a lot of back end production. I love the front end as a performer, as an MC, or as a guide. I know shit. I might not have the best voice, or I might have a face for radio, but what I love to see is, people get their due, especially if you're being, honored. I want you to just feel as comfortable and as freaking famous as possible. And if you're playing music, I want you to be as comfortable and as happy and let this audience be as good to you as possible. And that's what a good MC will do. They want to get the audience involved in it as much as possible to become part of the outcome. Like our freestyle events, Nate, you remember going to La Mirada for the US Open? Remember the energy that was there? It was captive, but it doesn't mean it would release itself. You had to tickle it. A lot of the freestyle teams kind of just went out and played and did the thing. And, you can always do better, I guess. But, it's a performing art, Frisbee freestyle, while we're touching on that. So everybody does it different, and everybody's way is just fun. So, but I think, Terry, it's more of me loving the performing.
Yeah.
That feel that I get.
Okay.
Now that we're warmed up and all stretched out, Craze.
Oh, you need to poop now?
No, let's jump.
Gotta go poop, Nate?
Let's just keep going on this track because I want to know about the Bud Light team, but obviously...
Do you want to see my abs here? Do you want to see the abs? I will show you.
I want to see
I've been working out here terribly.
I want to see that fake
professionally.
I want to see your fake ankle. I want to see.
Well, this is the only part that's been cleared by legal. This is all I can show you is this part.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that's the face of the future. There it is.
Wow.
Crazy John is showing
I get a new one every
boots.
2 years.
Yeah, for those of you just listening, he's putting up his boot. Now, recently you had a ankle replacement, right, Craze?
Total ankle replacement. Yeah. Oh boy.
Wow.
Something else.
It doesn't sound common, but all right.
Yeah, it's not common. I will tell you this though. Doug Simon, freestyler, New York City, part of the Sheep Meadow team crew up there, had his done a few years ago. So we did talk about it. He has a real similar device as mine, and so he's doing great. So I have great.
Yeah, hope.
Great expectations.
Absolutely.
And a genius surgeon.
That's right. So, we're in this time frame, the late 70s, very early 80s. You guys are getting things going. You're getting your game better. You're playing Frisbee golf. You're doing freestyle. You're coming up with all these ideas.
Yeah.
How in the world does the Bud Light thing even happen? And I know that that's a longer story. So just go ahead. There you go. Take it and run with it.
Yeah, and explain what it is.
Yeah,
for those who don't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah, please.
Mm-hmm. Hey, when you mention that you're reeling off those disciplines, a big thing, like I wanted to mention to Terry's point earlier about whether we were competitive. I don't think we were competitive between each other. When I say we were competitive within ourselves, it's because it was so exciting to see all these disciplines that you could do. We got the Frisbee World magazine now where you can see pictures of people that are doing it. And, you don't do it for the money back then, even though $20 might have been, I don't know, but it was not the driving force. But yeah, it was that just the act of getting better at all these different disciplines. And we were in incredible shape. Frisbee puts you in epic condition, with all the running and the hucking and it's, let's go through them. Disc golf was a given, calling it Frisbee golf, sure. But for me, it was freestyle, distance, and then accuracy. That's what disc golf represented to us, is accuracy and distance, And then you got the MTA. Back then you had TRC, throw, run, catch. And then you've got later came Discathon.
Mhm.
So, these were all total separate levels of dedication. You didn't have to do them all, but what I wanted to do ever since that first visit in 78, we met at the Firefighters Park, Penn Valley Park. Tom Ingle got us together. That's where I met Goldie and Ace Mason and Dan Murphy. And we went back to his house at 2913 Grant, right underneath KCPT Tower. And where all the big Frisbee parties were back then, backed up to a cemetery. Oh boy, got some fun Frisbee golf. And I was sitting down in this chair and I just wore out. Dan Murphy did the stork catch that day and he hit his knee right into his chin and just opened it up totally where he could stick his tongue through it. So he had a bandage and an ice cube on it. And Ace Mason, he comes up. I'm sitting there. I'm sitting there in the chair. I'm just like, whew. And this guy comes up with the beard and the hair and he goes, "Oh, Crazy John." And I was like, yeah. Oh, so I guess Crazy or something had entered the scene back then. But I remember Ace, "Crazy John. Oh, Crazy. What are you doing?" And I told him, that was so fun. He goes, God, boy, you were on fire out there. And I was going, man, it was so fun. He goes, how do you feel? How do you feel? And I go, man, I just want to become the world Frisbee champion. And he goes, oh, how about that? That was outstanding. How about that? Crazy John. Anyway, that was my commitment. So there it is. I just wanted to be the best at it. It was so much fun. I got to be the best. So, and then it's on. So, but
at that point, I mean, world championships are a few years away. Do you care about the competitions? I mean, you guys are sending newsletters and the IFA and all these other things. How are you staying in touch with the disc golf community that's outside of Kansas City?
That's a great point because Tom Ingle was our connect. I mean, he was the connection to the outside world. So he was bringing that all into us, all that organization, his connections with, Steady, were only but brief and minimal early on. And then where he had to launch on his own venture, because he wasn't able to work out a deal with Steady, with DGA. So, but the organization, it was all happening at the same time. Remember, let's see, I went out to Santa Cruz in 82. I think I got second behind that's when golf was on campus. That may be one of the most amazing disc golf courses on this planet. I don't think the posts are up still. There are a couple of posts though stuck back in the trees, right? Yeah. Still a couple of the posts at De La.
We right? we have a couple of the original 4x4 posts that were at De La Viega, but actually they did have a basketed course that they put up at UCSC for a while. I think those baskets have come down now, but they did, back in those World Disc Game years.
Dude,
the course at UCSC was epic, and the views from up there are just spectacular.
It was like a surreal, above the half moon. But I'm remembering, I had a morning ritual that I would do before golf. And I think I was there. I got in a playoff with Don Wallace somehow. I think Jerry Garrett won that year on campus. We had a little 2-hole playoff, Don and I. But I remember there was this little stretch. And this is like 7 a.m. or so, because we used to tee off about 8:30. Tom Schott running those amazing events. I walked back past the student building, and now these are these huge redwoods and, maybe some Dougies mixed in there. Incredible silence. This is almost awkward silence where you can hear somebody fart 100 yards away, and you follow the course, and it goes back to this place where it makes me think of that Romancing the Stone movie. And it looked like behind one of the tees with one of those huge, kahuna statues, faces coming out of the woods, it felt like, or that really tricky flat right after you tee off over the canyon or back in the amphitheater. What about that one? It was still foggy. And I'm going, the smoke was still clear, and I'm going, whoa, man. And, I got to play. I didn't even wear a watch then. I'm going, I got to play soon. Yeah, that course, that whole environment, boy, I mean, you are blessed to grow up in that heaven, that disc golf heaven you got up there.
At some point, you're then, you have this competitive, outlet, but then at some point, who assembles to make a team, to have a promotion, to talk to people at Bud Light or anywhere else? How does a traveling promotional team even get formed? Where does that conversation start?
Ain't that something, man? That's the shit. I mean, it was a dream. It just all happened. At the time, Hal Baby Kurz, Neil Adams from Springfield, Missouri, and Crazy were the Fountain Town Jammers. We were based in Kansas City, so we were competing. This is after Suzanne and I. Suzanne was my first competitive freestyle partner. So we started playing in 80. 81, 82, we went to the mixed nationals. So, I was either playing with Suzanne or with Tony Taffy during those years. And Hal and Neil and I started playing as Fountain Town. And then we got a couple big breaks. We played at like a Missouri States. And we were feeling good. I think Susan, Tony, and I had just done a Kansas City Kings halftime. And, we're playing every day, all day. I mean, this is 8 hours, all right? No BS. And Hal had the wherewithal to travel. Neil was a great player, and he had free time. So we had a friend named Dave. We have a dear friend, David Strandberg, who was at the time a disc jockey at Q104 at KBEQ on the Plaza in Kansas City. I had met him after Hal introduced us at a party at Uncle Barney's and Rachel's. He would come over and we'd do these hot tub parties and all that. David said, Crazy, come on down. You want to mix your music? So I would bring records and cassettes down there and mix our freestyle tapes together, 3, 4, 5 different songs put together for a 5-minute routine. And I'd have to come down there, though, between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. because he was the overnight guy. So I go in there and we're doing this. And, man, I'm telling you, man, we were partying in there like 2 in the morning and it was tearing it up. There's nobody there. We're just like, just go at it. What's next? And then we come up with these amazing, he's working with 1-inch tape in those days, too, editing on the fly. So it was so fun. And then so within a year's time, Dave gets picked up by Needham, Harper, and Steers in Chicago as the account executive for the rollout of Budweiser light beer. I mean, pow! So he gets this job. First thing he does, he calls Hal. Says, Hal, I want you boys to get ready. In about a month's time, I'm gonna be in town. We're gonna get something. So we worked up to this. About a month later, David arranges. He brings about a half a dozen of these Anheuser-Busch guys out from St. Louis, all the sports, the big dogs, the marketing, and Denny Long. And he gets us booked as the warm-up act for, this is at the Uptown Theater in Kansas City. The place is amazing. We're going to open up for Asleep at the Wheel and Pure Prairie League. These are 2 old bands. Anyway, we're live on stage and we crushed it. So, not even, I don't know, but very soon after, Dave says, listen, man, we got the thumbs up. And June 6th, just last Saturday, we signed with Anheuser-Busch, signed our first annual contracts. So, that was in June of 82. So shortly after that, it was whirlwind. We were doing like 25 shows in 30 days, sometimes one of the Texas tours was 28 shows in 31 days. And we're just going college to college to college to college. And kind of like I did earlier on was I'd go teach at schools, in the wintertime. We're talking about off season. So I used to work for Evanston Entertainment, and I used to do do these Frisbee shows, 50-minute assemblies, K through first grade, junior high, high school stuff, 15 towns a week, buddy. And I remember with Tony Taffy, that was so much fun. But Neil Adams, Chris Bright did some of those. So it was just that routine. It makes you feel like you're invincible, playing that much. And the kids loved it. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of extra fun.
So
Bud Light. So within a month's time, Terry, David green lighted the whole thing. Within a month's time, we're going to St. Louis. They put us through beer school. They put us through marketing school for a week. We're going through all these sizing for gear, and and it was just turned on high immediately. And go ahead, brother. I interrupted.
Well, I was just going to say their whole premise is, hey, you're going to entertain this crowd. You're going to open before this band or these other entertainers. You're going to do all these Frisbee tricks and get people all just jacked up about doing that. And like that was it. I mean, and I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm just saying, like, that was, and you were all wearing, Budweiser stuff, and they're like, yeah, this is our traveling promotion team. I mean, sell me current day on this. Give me this sales pitch if it were happening today. How would you reword the sales pitch to get the job again today?
I wish it were possible to do this freestyle device again too, because it was a great communicator, because it's super unique. You don't see it on television. You can't see it on television, and you can still attach this positive message with it. And in my times, Stork likes to kind of refer to this part. He says, part of my responsibility was to deliver the messages, which was not just about Budweiser Light and Bud Light, supporting Frisbee sports and young adult activities, but also to know when to say when. And that was their responsible drinking program that went on for years and years, which we embraced also. And, so but that was while I was at work. I'm saying that's why I was work and
when
responsible. We were
when
responsible.
You're paid to know when to say when. When you're not being paid to know when to say when. Things were a little looser.
Still getting paid, but we just didn't have the microphone on. That's all.
Right.
But yeah, it was a good message. And, but I'll tell you what, some of these gigs were amazing. We're doing from, like I say, these outdoor shows where some of these crowds and stuff were just sick, but it's such a great environment for freestyle Frisbee, though. Like the NBA games and stuff like that, there's so much height, and that court is so hot. It's so hot down there. I really admire the way the players work through this. It is one of the most hottest, brightest stages there is, which is very intimate. Even back then, I remember I met Dick Vitale. It was like St. John's, might have been a St. John's Villanova game, something like that. And I was doing this side court announcement for the team and for the Anheuser-Busch thing and the Papow and boom. And I remember I saw him at the hotel that night down at the phone bank in the lobby. I was on this side and talking to there, and he was behind me, but I could hear him. I knew that was Dickie V. I could hear it's like, oh yeah, it was a great day. Yeah, that's good. Okay, honey. And then, but I saw him later in the hall, and he goes, yeah, you're the guy, Crazy Bob. That was a great thing. Hey, you did a great thing, man. You really got it, kid. And I was like, I've been called just about everything, Silly Larry and all that. But anyway, that was fun. It was, forget how we got there, but so some of these gigs, the NBA, you do the NFL. It's a different environment where you're so far away from people. Even your response is at a delay, at a physical delay, because of that proximity, and much less, sound systems. You've worked with delays and stuff, and Dallas Stadium. I remember throwing an Aerobie out the top of Texas Stadium, buddy. Let's do that one. Let's get that one. Why? Where's the cameras when you need them? I will never forget that. And the termites in the turf there. I remember we were there with, his name is Drew Pearson. Is that Cowboys? Drew Pearson, I think, is it. And even he was going like, damn, shit, damn. I mean, the mic is on. You can hear this everywhere. Shit, oh, man. And it was like, shit. But that was weird. And, college, like some of the big games, like I don't think we did Army, Navy. We did like Navy. And that was a big one that I remember. Some of the football fields, we did a lot of turf. We also did a lot of grass. Grass on the football field, Terry.
Yeah.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Yeah.
Come on.
Uh-huh.
So some of the fields would be so torn up. We're just literally like tramping around in, muck. And so, these different environments put a different challenge with the freestyle. It's communication. It could be too much noise. It could be hard to communicate. I would always throw distance at these, at the football gridirons and stuff. Set a world record here at Arrowhead Stadium back when it was just 120 yards, 121 yards, something like that. And some of the environments that Bud Light got us into, I'm sure were part of the magic, which is getting Frisbee in front of the masses. So that's the one thing that sets it aside. We're going in front of millions of people in a year's time, whereas it would take normally, a solo entity or, a less supported act, just years to reach that many faces. And whether we were responsible for it personally was not the point. It was that I was so happy that the Frisbee was being seen. The magic was being seen. I just wanted to share what I was getting. And and it worked. A lot of the time it did work because we could tell just because of the invitations back. And some of these annual appearances they just became, so much fun. Oh man, I remember we did the King Dome. Final Four in like 85, I think it was. And I got to play. I totally sat in with the Washington State Jazz Band. I'm just doing B flat. I talked to the trombone player. You guys playing a B flat? He goes, yeah. I'm going, man, let me play it. He invited me up. I ended up getting a kiss from Miss Washington at the end. Total spontaneous. And my guys down there, my AB guys, they're just lapping it up. They're going, yes. We're up on the screen thing up there. I remember Joey hated the music we played to, Yes, some of that new icky Yes. And he's like, owner of a lonely heart. He was like, cut it, Craze. No. And it made me turn it up.
What was the moment like when you guys signed this contract? I mean, did you feel like rock stars? Because it kind of sounds like you are a little bit. I mean,
it wasn't that size check, but we were freaking out because it was formal and it was, yeah. I mean, they'd already told us, we're going to have about 8 months of work, coming up, and that was a lot. We're getting paid by the day, not the month anymore. So it was just crazy. It came, and it was a little bit of money back then, which was a lot. But I look at it now, and I mean, it grew with inflation, and but it was a very properly put together brand program. I think I sure did my part. And Anheuser-Busch was great to give me the trust for so long. And God knows Joey Hedocklin and Chipper Bro Bell, Hal Baby Kurz, Neil Adams. There was also on the original Budweiser Light Frisbee team, there was also a female member, Kim Sharp, and that was Hal Baby's girlfriend at the time. Within a couple months of signing, she got picked up by the Betty Ford agency and was gone to Milan. She was gone. So Hal Baby and I, we had already moved to Dallas, and we're running the Bud Light team there out of his apartment. And Hal Baby, he just had to, he had to stick with a more ample living. So I took it over. and hired Chip in March of '83.
March
of '84.
I was going to say, I mean, by the way, I just got to see Hal last year. So Hal's nephew is the chief executive officer, president of another beer brewery here in Bend. And we played a disc golf.
Travis.
Travis. Yeah. And we played a disc golf tournament last fall. And I got to spend, we played the whole day together, Hal and I. And I just love Hal, baby. He's a little guy, but he's got that big personality to him. And I just love how did, you said Hal needed a different line of money making, but how did Chipper and Joey become a part of the Bud Light team?
Well, I was living at Hal Baby's apartment. Seems to be a pattern. I'm always living at somebody else's place, but I was living at Hal's back then on Jarbo, and we decided that I'd come back from playing the wintertime, and I'd met Chip at wintertime 83, 84, and no, I met him in 83. I saw him again in 84 and asked him what he was doing these days. So I went back with Hal. We decided, I think I hired him first time for a May Amarillo, Texas was his audition gig. So I talked it over with Hal, and he gave me his blessing. I called Chipper from the apartment then. He said yeah. So then I arranged, we get his plane tickets and shit like that, get him sized up. And then of course he worked out fine, and he catches on quick. He's an incredible player, a wonderful spirit. The thing was, there's more money in co-op, a little more competitive environment too when you go to co-op, which is 3 players. Chip and I were operating as a pair. So honestly, I kind of took Chip away from Joey, who was his partner at the time. But he's going to make a few $100 a day instead of a month. So that's a different call. And, Joey just went with it. They just won the Worlds, so they're happy. They still live in Santa Barbara. So I'm just taking him with me, fairly regularly. So it was within a couple of months that, Chip was already hinting at, dude, we need to get Joey. So, I started putting that in St. Louis's ear. It took about 6 months. I remember going out to see him in December of '86 out in Santa Barbara. We saw each other at the FPA Worlds. And Joey, said he would join. We became a third. I can't remember. I think he did play for Bud Light in the '86 Worlds. So we would have hooked him up before August of that year. But yeah, come on. He's the greatest player in the world. Maybe still to this day, as far as flow and both sides of the brain, and the bispinnular ambidextrous that he uses now is just as if it was off of his, first, maybe, in the 70s, where he's making stuff up. He makes up something every day of his life, it seems. And, but you got to remember, we talked about dedication, like in disc golf, where you really got to practice now if you want to stay in that top realm. With freestyle, it's the same. Maybe not so much nowadays, but back then you had to stay on to it every day, because it's just like playing pool, anything else. You can lose your touch real quick. You lose your senses, just like you lose the feel of the putt, kind of let the snap drift a little bit. This freestyle, this is like a rock band, we felt like, because there's all this work being done just for us and our Frisbee. We couldn't even believe it. And the limousines and these penthouses and private planes and shit, it was just unbelievable. We're still just hanging out, rolling one at the end of the day. But we felt like we really had something by the tail. The Frisbee was this just like a fast moving vehicle. There's just room for 3 people on board. And And we did post some good results too. It wasn't just all fun and games. It was some very serious practice. We're talking 6 to 8 hours a day, every day at Palm Park. That was my life for about 4 years, and you get really close to people that way. And that's probably the big reward, is that we became such good, lifelong friends. And
like if we brought this into present day, because clearly Budweiser, they're not trying to sell Frisbees. They're selling beer at the end of the day. They're selling a good time. Yeah. They're selling a motto of, play, drink responsibly, all of that. If we brought it into present day, and maybe even this example is dated, I think of Red Bull being out there, maybe sponsoring a team of people who are jumping out of planes, right? Like, or doing all these other extreme sports, like where Red Bull isn't pushing Red Bull, they're pushing the extreme lifestyle. Would that be a fair analogy for Budweiser back in the day? Because when you think beer, I'm not thinking Frisbee throwing. I'm not thinking sports necessarily, or participating in sports, maybe spectating, but just that whole tie together. Does it even sound weird to this day, or does it still sound like obvious to you?
No, but it is the tricky part of the recipe. So I do like how, when you give the Red Bull example, they like the daredevil mindset, and they like the go out on a limb, type of daredevil activity and adrenaline type activities. Excuse me. And that's kind of what freestyle is. It's kind of Frisbee daredeviling, if you want to say loosely. But I think that'd be a great, let's just set it up the way you did, Terry. Let's say that we're at Red Bull, and what you want to do is take Frisbee to the people. That's one thing that we did well with Anheuser-Busch. We could go anywhere, anytime. That shit is on. It's right now. It's lights, camera, action. Let's go. And so with that in mind, I've imagined these models before, like something I worked on with Stork was a model for a captive arena, which was used for a tennis event. And then we would be able to incorporate guts and freestyle and double disc court, because you can encapsulate it in that amount of space with low risk to the viewers, low risk to the live audience, still be, using the same live capture production assets like you would for tennis, like with the jibs, the cameras, and the iMac, and you would be able to tell that story there. And it of course would be scripted, and we're gonna have to add some pyro too. We're gonna get lots of that. When you're gonna need more pyro, but you bring it to the audience, and I think that's where you can bring it on. We're not altering the court or anything, and we can come in and take everything off. That we, turn it back to tennis that easy. That's where I think I would want to sell it these days. The problem is the Frisbee freestyle has changed. It's just not the same physical game anymore. There's a lot of, I think some of the players, at least from my era, are a little becoming more and more aware about less happening during a possession. Things being simplified, maybe for, oh my gosh, we don't want to drop it. Whatever you do, don't drop it. So we're kind of toying with the risk factor where maybe you don't need to. You want to employ and deploy the risk factor and incorporate the risk factor rather than, dumb it down, because you might get a low execution score. If you drop the disc, you're going to get points against you. So, and that's just my take. That's what I see. I see a little timid play. I want to see more risk, more air, more spontaneous. And I think that's just the way it was back when I was playing more. But it doesn't mean it's not entertaining, the way they do it.
Yeah, it's just a different game. This is very off the cuff and kind of random, though. Thinking about all the time you put in, all the people you've been around, been at, the freestyle championships and everything else. When it's all said and done, if we had the list of the top 100 freestylers in the world, men or women, top 100 freestylers in the world, roughly where are you putting your skills?
Oh, I wouldn't do that about me. I mean, I'm lucky to have, played with, some of the best, and I hope that some of that can rub off on me. And, there's, I can't forget to mention Donnie Rhodes and Camilla Rhodes played with me in the last year of my running the program. That was another, level that just exposed me to that type tightness, and their regimen was so difficult. Camilla's champion Olympic ice skater, in Sweden, and then Donnie, of course, one of the greatest to ever freestyle ever, and many-time world champ. But I don't know if I don't consider myself really up in that echelon. Okay. I was more in charge of the drops, so I was the drop director.
Okay,
I was in charge of dropping, and I'm just. But saying,
overall entertainer. But at the same time, maybe you weren't the best freestyler. Maybe even if you don't, if you humbly want to say you're not even that top 100, clearly you're way near the top of that list in terms of the overall entertainment package and the orchestrating of other people, the emceeing, the setting the stage. Even if you weren't the best performer ever to be on the stage, possibly, you were helping set that stage, and then also making sure the lights were shining the brightest for everyone else that joined you on the stage. That's what it feels like, right?
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. I mean, I'd like to think that the Bud Light team did hold, a real firm grip on the players' respect when we were at it the most consistently. We were able to win a few world titles during that span. And at the same time, I was able to do my overall thing too. But we actually did win the overall and freestyle and golf at the same world championships. So that was in '85 in Santa Cruz.
Yeah, I was going to say, really was that the world? That was the World Disc Games in Santa Cruz.
World Disc Championships. Mm-hmm.
Was there
the World Disc Games was another event? Right. That was a different event. But World Disc Championships, Tom Schott and Paul, bless his heart, Paul, his partner.
Well, in Santa Cruz?
Santa Cruz, yeah. Remember his right-hand man?
Paul.
The mustache and the glasses. Paul, he lived next door to Chipper Bro. Can you believe it? In Ventura.
Wow.
But he passed away just a couple of years ago.
When you're going to these events, though, you're performing as the Bud Light team. Was that a part of the deal with Anheuser-Busch, or was that just something you were doing?
No, it's my full-time job for 9 years.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah, you're doing it constant. It's Bud Light team. They didn't even, they'd say your names once in a while, but yeah, we were Bud Light, and I'm branded.
Of course.
That was our And that's $500,000 budget a year.
Was there animosity or maybe the best word is jealousy, whether it was obvious or not?
Yeah,
was there any jealousy about too,
for sure?
How'd these guys get this gig, and why am I not? How did they break through? And I want to go do that. Was there some of that either overtly out there in terms of jealousy or not?
There may have been, but I don't know that I actually saw that. As such as it's being called. I know anybody might, maybe the what about me? I don't know. Because you're talking about Joey and Chipper, first of all. And, Crazy, I don't know how that rings in to the equation. But I think in the freestyle community, more of the people, almost everybody was more proud that our sport was out there in places where it would have taken forever, if at all, to get into some of the environments where we were getting the Frisbee in there. And the Frisbee was the star. I mean, let's just face it, man. Frisbee's the thing that did all the crazy shit. We're just moving around it. And I think we did good at keeping that the main thing, and not getting so much into the personnel thing.
How second nature did it did it feel, you're doing this 6 to 8 hours of practice a day, which means you're seeing thousands of spins, right? And I guess I'm using spin as sets, right? You're setting each other up. You're getting your game going.
Possessions.
Yeah, possessions.
Sure.
You're seeing thousands of those a week, if not more. Is the flight of the Frisbee, especially, was it the Sky Styler, or what were you playing with in those days? But
we were sponsored by Whammo. Bud Light team had a Whammo agreement. It's
gotcha.
Entire.
Yeah. So you're playing with the Whammo. The Whammo,
it's even bigger.
Yeah. And
165 gram high rigidity.
Okay. So you're playing with this disc. You is it second nature? Just when you see it in the air in front of you, can you anticipate? And because I feel like a big part of freestyle that people maybe don't recognize is there is some ad-libbing. I mean, you guys have your routine, but there's still wind coming across. You probably had the World Indoor Championships. You also had the Beach Championship. How much of this was just second nature? And then things like the teeth delay and things like that. You're ad-libbing that at that moment because you can anticipate so well, right?
Well, the moves are scheduled. We choreograph the routine down to each throw and move and possession and co-op. So it's all planned out beforehand. What Bud Light would do is what we would have Joey and Chip peel off and do one co-op, which means both of them working together with one counter throw so they could do whatever they want, just because it was just fucking amazing. We just set it and forget it. They would just go off and do it and then come back to me. We back on schedule with the music. But it's a great way to describe it, the way you set it up. There is a bit of spontaneity on every exchange until you get it in possession. So the spontaneous part is, like you say, it could be a gust of wind or a low throw, or maybe he's supposed to throw a clock, but he threw counter. And you have to do those last second changes, manipulation. In that case, if it was wrong spin, I would just zoom it. Then we're back on schedule. But any little variation when the disc is on its way to you can kind of catch you by surprise. But you still go back to your scheduled individual move, and which keeps you to script. And a lot of teams go out and just do it spontaneous the whole time. We were not one to do that, just because we're trained. I think we had two different complete routines on a 5-minute length that we could use and make slight adjustments to, so we didn't just repeat every time. So competition, you always have to kind of throw a little something new in there. We weren't the greatest at doing that, but if we hit our routine the way we wanted it, that thing was so tough, we usually came out well, just hitting our scheduled script.
Yeah.
Just because of Joey and Chip's, they're just freaking amazing. What I had, it ended up helping. Some of my shit was pretty cool. The toothbrush.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing is like.
Explain that for everybody.
Yeah.
Pow.
I want
Pow.
Explain that in detail.
Yeah. 4 out of 5 dentists do not recommend my toothbrush. The tooth, they just call it the tooth. When Chip, like during the routine, either whoever was throwing it to me, if the toothbrush is next up, and it could be Joey or Chip, they would remind me, we're at this point in the routine, they just go like this, crazy, like that, and they just throw it. And then, so what it is, Terry, is I'll take a clockwise spin, and it'll be coming at me with the nose up, coming at me, up towards me, and I'll take it with my finger and a rim delay and put it right up on my teeth and balance it, and also balance it this way while moving counterclockwise with clock spin, and it looks so awesome. And I was doing 1, 2, and 3 360s with this thing, and a lot of times one of my favorite closes with this, it was this arm roll scarecrow catch that would just, oh man, I swear a little pee would come out sometimes. It was so exciting. And people, if you dropped it, cue the trombone sound, that toothbrush, it was deadly. If you hit it, it was just something else. So, but yeah, so freestyle, spontaneous, kind of hand in hand.
Yeah. I wonder too, I always wish that, every time you go to a concert, you see the guys on the stage and you think, boy, had I made a different decision when I was 8 years old, I could be the guy singing or the guy playing the drums or whatever. But
yeah,
I've always
should have never cut my hair.
It's just crazy. It's always a shock to me when I hear a song be played, how these four dudes, girls, whatever they are, people came up with this. You're just sitting on your couch and one guy's like, and the other guy goes, and it all kind of comes together. And then all of a sudden it's a song and you play it 5,000 times in front of 200,000 people. What is it like with a freestyle team? You guys are just in the park practicing and then you go, ooh, I like that connection. Let's try that again. And you just do it over and over and over again.
That's it. And basically you find it, you like it, you keep it, and you encapsulate it so you can, like I say, you can kind of pick it out, put it over in that routine and take something from that, make it back. So again, we're not just rinse and repeat, because the players would push back on that. We took a little shit just because we did rely on our number one routine for, if I remember, like in 87, when we were not messing around in 87, we did use our main routine with that was to Eminence Front, which most a lot of people remember that, or they'll remember Storm Warning, or they'll remember Frankenstein, or Help, or the other one is Jethro Tull, Locomotive Breath. So those 6 different routines were made up of basically 2 smaller routines, and Joey and Chip handled all that. Like Chip was conditioning and stretching, Joey was our choreograph, and he was managing the script, and I do the business end, and don't be late for practice. I just I loved every minute of it.
With all of those moving parts, along with some extracurriculars, along with young so adult lucky. Men. Where'd you guys trip up? Who effed up so badly that you're screaming at them on the phone? Like who? Give us a trip up story where you're like, we're done. This shit's over. You screwed up.
Terry.
You screwed us too bad. Give us one of those stories.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go there. Yeah, well, there's more than a couple.
Okay. Okay.
And, we ain't no cell phones back then, so you had to wait it out till the boss called. Those were some long nights. I remember, let's see, remember we were at a Anheuser-Busch brewery opening in Fort Collins, Colorado, and let's see, I don't think it was a tournament. We were there for the brewery opening, and Chip, Joey, Crazy, and we're warming up. It's like 9 a.m. This is the full blown deal. They got the Clydesdales and all the super tents, incredible. All the bells and whistles you could ever imagine. Brand new building there in Fort Collins. We are the guest stars, to make the appearance, and we're out warming up, and we played at this club called Washington's, I think it's called, in Fort Collins. It was a club, big club, dance floor, super cool, young adult bar. And we performed, and we stayed up late. Everybody was at our room after that. Boy, we're there. Oh, we owe. And then next day, see, what was I saying? Fort Collins. Yeah. So next day we're warming up in the parking lot. We got like an 11 o'clock, I think, and a 1 o'clock. So we're going to warm up, know the space, get with the sound people. And then we go like the bands do. They go to we're going to the dressing room, man. But anyway, Chip just could not catch anything. He'd do these beautiful spins and perfect, and he'd hear the same thing. Bam! Disc on the parking lot floor, he's starting to drop. Fuck! He was so pissed. It was like, don't Chip, it's okay. Keep going, warm it up. Finally, he dropped this incredible thing. It was like one of his favorite moves, and he just got pissed and he hauled off and just like kicked this orange cone. And he didn't realize it, but there's like a 2-inch metal stake inside of it, and he broke his foot.
Oh,
Right? Broke the foot. 10 minutes later, I'm in a taxi taking him to an urgent med before there was such a thing. And then later that day at, I believe it's in front of the Right Life, that the Linden, the mall down there, Chip couldn't make the deal. I had to get Bill Wright offered to help us out. And he stood in as a third. Yeah, and I'm so sorry, Bill. I think I still owe him $150 for that sit-in. I'm so sorry. I mean, I had to give him something.
Stand-in fee. Yeah.
I might have stiffed him. Sorry, Billy. But
wow.
Yes. So and we're talking about the bad stuff. Yeah, that was not a good one. We got in some trouble. We used to go to the Cape and do a back-to-school tour out there. We became friends with a band called Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and those guys, real nice to us. Just playing small clubs like Improper Bostonian, super famous Cape bar. I remember we did this bed and we did a waiter-waitress race out on Nantucket. Mr. Bush was coming in. Susie Bush was already there. She was a big fan of the Frisbee team, and young Augie loved the Frisbee team. And we had a long night again, and they flew us over on the A&E Eagle plane in the morning, and we did our show, and we had 0 catches in 5 minutes. The worst ever.
Oh.
My guy there in Market comes over and says, "Hey, Crazy, hey, listen, come here. I want to talk to you." So it's, we're in trouble. And I realized it's like, I'm sorry, it was just tough. And he was ragging on Chip or something, maybe about something. I can't remember. But then, I did turn around and I saw Chip was busy around the corner of our touring van thing. He was busy doing something else. We just had a bad day was all. So, but, I do remember we were kind of sad and we had nothing to do. Let's see, it was a travel day the next day. They took us back. They had this really sweet Bush van that they took us all over the country in. This thing was awesome. We stayed up late. Chip and I had this. He had a bottle of Kahlua for some reason in his suitcase for like a week. And he finally decided that was going to be the time to take it out. We found this little lighthouse that was out in front of our awesome hotel there in Hyannisport. Anheuser-Busch people set us up so nice. And we went out there and we climbed the lighthouse and we brought the Kahlua. And then we were up there and we're like this far apart, our faces, because we're up in like a tube. It's a freaking lighthouse, man. And it's like red, green, red. And we're just, and then he goes, I can't tell you this one part, but he goes, I think it's raining. And then we started to feel the effects of the other stuff and started to go explore. And I had my jam box with me. Somewhere I have a cassette tape where I had just hit record for about 2 hours of this little interlude, at 2 a.m. I put the ghetto box underneath this trapeze on a catamaran that was just on the shore there, and you could hear I heard the recording before. It was like pop, 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 and you could also hear us just laughing our faces off like 50 feet away because we waited out, and for some reason it was so glassy. And we waded out, and it looked like our heads were floating, on the water. We couldn't stop laughing. It was so funny. Anyway, we went back, and Chip, for some reason, was just bugging. It's like 3 a.m. now. And I remember he stirred up the steel, and he goes, "What's that, Crazy?" And I'm laying back on the bed watching the wallpaper and all that. And he says, "Wow, what is that?" And he just hops up and hits it. And then he hops up and hits it again. And then fire alarm. He set the fire alarm off in the hotel. The whole building is fire alarm. So I freaked out. I jumped up, ran through the little patio and off over the rail and went out to the beach and just waited. And I was just like, no, because, my head is scrambling. And I know I was sitting there just going, oh, God, oh, geez, oh, please, God. Oh, God. And then I saw the red lights, from the fire truck. So I can't leave my partner in there. He's my best friend. So I went back in, and I swear to God, I opened up the door that was right next to our room on the end. And then I look all the way down the hallway at the opposite end as me. Here's Chip. And he had gotten a pillow out of his room, and he has it up on his horn. It's like, but mine right by me is going full blast. So I went in and I got me a pillow. And here's some Chip and I were looking at each other going, just trying to not laugh. Anyway, not even a minute later, here comes the fire department, he's got an axe in his hand. He comes, where is it? Where's the fire? He's like, take me to the where is it? And I took my pillow off, now it's just screaming loud. The guy walks into the room, takes his axe, looks up at the ceiling, flips it around, and taps it and makes the freaking horn stop. It was all over.
Presses the button.
Flipped it up, did the old axe tap, and we're done. I wish I'd have known that. Anyway, we had to leave the hotel. We had to leave and all that stuff. And bad. Fortunately, it was travel day. Yeah. But it was all in good fun and stuff. Nobody got hurt, but it was just a sequence of unavoidable events.
Yeah.
Unavoidable by smashing the fire alarm.
Somewhat avoidable, but also unavoidable.
Was it inevitable?
I want to ask, hold on, Terry, I want to ask about Stevie Ray Vaughan. Crazy. Boy. I've known you for a long time.
Great spirit.
And I have a lot of discs. They're right over here that you've given me. Yeah. And a lot of them say SRV on them. And I know that Stevie meant a lot to you, and you guys performed for him a lot. Give me, as best you can, I know it might be a little emotional for you too, but just what does Stevie Ray Vaughan mean to you and also to the musical world and just everything? I just want to know a little bit about Stevie.
Yeah, what an angel, right? Pegasus and all. Cheers to Stevie Ray.
You know it.
I think one of our favorite things about Stevie was how much he loved the Frisbee, and he loved to. He would come back. He would come up to the wings and watch. When we played. I'll tell you what, though. For a while, his favorite thing was when I would throw distance. Every time I'm doing distance, he would say, "Hey, Craig. Hey, Crazy, let me know when you're going to chuck it." And that meant, the distance, because guess what? I was throwing 185-gram phoenixes into the audience back then. Yeah. He was just waiting till I let somebody open. He goes, I just know you're going to let somebody open real good, man. I'm going to be there. It was Stevie that says, because I'd never get these discs back. We're jumping, changing locations each day. Tim Selinsky would go, he worked so hard to keep me supplied, and they're FedEx and stuff every day, have stuff waiting for me. And it was so kind, but he was sure I was going to let somebody open. And he's the one that said, "Crazy, man, you just bring his Frisbee back to the stage for a free case of beer." And then started doing that. And we started getting them back. And of course, there was never any case beer on site, so they would, But anyway, that helped a lot. But yeah, it's because he just so respected it as an art, as a performing art. He really did dig it. John, the whole band was big fans, and we got to spend some crazy time together too. When you travel together, you get stuck at places together. So, I remember, let's see, one time. So this one time we're in a van. It's just the band and the Frisbee team. We're in this like 15 passenger, in Texas, in Wichita Falls. And they were taking us down the wrong side of the divided highway. So we got motorcycle police taking us. They stopped the highway. This was full going this way. We got to the hotel. There's people just pouring out front, people there to meet Stevie. The whole lobby full, packed, jam-packed. Couldn't even get through. So for some reason, the Frisbee team lost our fucking key. That was not unusual. We're at the desk. And, all the people are just freaking out. Say, Stevie, and Whipper, hey, let me get it. Can you sign? And pictures and everything. Frisbee, we're kind of going, okay, must be nice. That's great. Okay, good. That's real happy for you guys. Anyway, the crowd clears. We finally get another key. And we make our way to the elevator. And, ding, you punch the button. Honestly, man, that door opened. And the door opened, and it was Stevie all alone in the elevator car. He's got a bottle of Jack. He said, what the fuck? So we go up, we're on the same floor, the crew, band, Frisbee. So we couldn't get onto the floor because we didn't have a key, or we would have, But so we rode it up and went onto the floor. And it was Richie Smiths and Joey and I. We just started jamming there in the hall of the hotel. And he's going, yeah, man, yeah. And then Richie Smiths ended up getting him hooked up with counter spin on his left hand. And he could do it for about 5 seconds. And he was just standing there in a doorway. Richie did this amazing rollover on this one trip. But, so just hanging out spontaneously, you get a little free time together, I remember he let Chipper put number one around him at a show. I don't know where that was, but he got to put number one around his neck and everything. And so Steve, now he was all business, though, I'll tell you. And we knew him early on, and we knew him later when he'd made some major changes in life. And saw him a few times at some Los Angeles performances too, which was great to see away from work, And because if we were working together, it was at an extreme event. These were some of these things. Just imagine hundreds of thousands of people. Oh man, I remember a Stevie show in Padre where there's so many people, we got stuck in the stage, literally. So the police went and got like a half a dozen Jeeps. And had them all show up, and they put like 2 or 3 of us in the Jeeps, and drove us out, and had to like split the people to get through there. The road to the marina was blocked off. Remember, Chip and I hopped out, and we're literally asking one car to move that way and this way, and then made it over. They put us on a couple of yachts to go back to the mainland somewhere. But let's see, I remember one time, another Texas where a Frisbee friend of mine, this was the year that there was a huge transit strike. So all kinds of limo drivers, bus drivers, everywhere, they were all on strike nationwide. So the band, it was Stevie Ray and the Thunderbirds were on tour this time. And they were stuck without a ride. And my guy asked me, Craze, what can you do to help? Can I help? He said, well, yeah, you can get on the phone and find some way to get these guys here. Honest to God, I'm there I'm at the Miramar Hotel. I'm on this payphone. People are wanting to get on the payphone. I was like, I'm sorry. I ain't giving this one up. I'm just calling one company after another and putting in coins, to call out of town. And then I feel this tap on my shoulder. I turned around. This is my super good Frisbee friend and Suzanne, both friends, Dave Zentz from way back. Excuse me. Hey, I'm like, hey, Dave, what's going on? Said, hey, man, what's up? What are you doing? I said, oh, man, I'm busy. I'm trying to find some transportation. What are you doing? He goes, oh, man, I'm just taking off now. I'm here for a week. I just dropped off my kids. I was like, what? I didn't know you had kids. And he goes, oh, yeah, no, I don't know, man. I mean my passengers. I drove them down here in my bus. I just dropped them off, so I got a week. I'm like, what the fuck? And yeah, he became the band's driver for all week,
oh
man.
My God, what a week.
He got to talking this and Stevie, oh my God, he just had a blast. Dave Zentz. It was just a miracle. And, Frisbee story. Anyway, that was a hoot. Yeah,
you gotta love it when your friend just shows up with a bus right when you need one. I mean, to bus the biggest name in the world around, along with your Frisbee promo team, you've got to love that. Crazy. I have so many more questions, but sticking with entertainment.
Yeah, I'm a little blabby, but I appreciate you listening.
No. I'm just thinking the stage, the spotlight, all of those things. Some of the clips that people can still see online right now, because a lot of this wasn't necessarily recorded in archives. Some was, some wasn't. Yeah. But some clips that are out there, you on television, you break down if you have a favorite moment, or I'm guessing there's far too many to recall them all. But tell some stories about you on national television and what you were doing.
Yeah. Well, most people go to that to go back to the Incredible Sunday thing, which was that's 89. I think it aired in 89. But I like Sammy Farron's will remind me. He was over at Russ Sheldon's house playing poker. Marcus, a bunch of the guys were there, and they came on TV while they were playing poker. That was pretty crazy. Oh my
God,
that's my homies down there too. But that was the Sunday primetime show of That's Incredible. So they had that was fun. That was my angle was to throw the basketball goal, throw the 165 to the basketball goal. And that was a fun one. There's a cool story within that. This is a live audience. I remember in the audience, Mark and Susie Horn and little Christopher Horn was in the audience. Kirby, rest in peace, Kent Purvis, Kurt Lampkin, Neil Estevez, my Oak Grove family. My first home course was Oak Grove. This was before Swoop came about. I remember, and this was live to tape. So it's about 11 o'clock at night when we finally went on. And I remember we had to cut and restart because Neil Estevez, for some reason, decided to bring bottled beer in his pockets. Anyway, there was some bottles going down. It was alive. It just everybody.
That's a Frisbee golfer.
Yeah, right.
Fucking Heineken. God. So
clink, 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 clink.
Totally. You had to wait till it was all done rolling. Anyway, so but that the story on that was on the Whammo sent a couple boxes of the Bud Light discs, 165s, and they were there waiting for me. They made a little cutout star with some gold glitter on it. They had a 6-pack of Bud Light on ice in a little cheap-ass styrofoam cooler, I thought that was kind of cool. And some, cherry tomatoes. Shit, I don't know. But I was just tripping on that. But I do remember this. The producer's voice comes from the ceiling in a sound studio. And so we're doing these run-throughs. My rehearsal was about 6 at night. And they had to weld this ramp over a couple generators that are in the back of the studio in the back wall, so I could stand right over them. They didn't quite have 95 feet, so they're doing this, zzz, 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 that'll get your nerves up a little bit. Like, don't screw this up. Anyway, it came time where they want to actually see the Frisbee fly, so they give us, all clear, voices coming out. He's got about maybe a dozen cameras on the floor in different spots, and they're getting all these go-aheads and green lights. I'm just watching. I'm just waiting for it to say Frisbee go. Anyway, so everybody's ready, whatever. There's nobody there, just tech. And then I'm like, okay, thanks a lot. And they do the count in. So we're live on the test rehearsal.
Yep.
I picked up the disc. They already measured it off. They had the guy come in at regulation height, 10 feet, like it says. And I got my disc and made sure I'm on the mark. They had it marked off, and they added some. They put about 4 marks. Had to move by 6 inches back then if Guinness is going to be petitioned. So you had to, very strict, only 5 attempts in 24 hours back then from any one distance. And finally, I picked one right off the top, squared that like there, and pow, and then threw it, checking out the wind, and I'll be son of a bitch, it went in. My very first throw went in.
That's insane, dude. Holy shit.
And I said, guys, that'll be fine. Works for me. And I walked off. Walked down my steps. That's fine. They're like, no, Frisbee. Hey, Crazy Larry, can you come back, please, and throw a couple more for the cameras? And, I came back and threw for more. Actually, that ended up helping because when we were live to tape, and this is live to camera, and we green lighted, we're counted in, and we're live.
The crowd is there now.
Yeah, you're live.
Yeah.
And it's like 400 people. So, and they go, so go ahead whenever you're. And so my first throw live to camera was a full shank that went left over the cyc and knocked some shit over. I could hear it, boom, pow, clam, and then, total redo. So, the way there is a tape of that, the edit will show that the first one was a backboard slight miss, but it wasn't actually. They edited one of my rehearsal throws in there. So, but that was fun. Wow. And then he said, I saw him at there was a little dinner afterwards for performers and staff. And what's the lady was, remember Christina Ferrari? She was part of it too, man. Anyway, I saw Davidson there in the food line after. He goes like, crazy son of a bitch, broke my arm with that high five. I gave him a high five. I was so high on it, man. I was just tripping. I whacked him a good one. But anyway, but that was fun. Terry, when you think about TV, man, you do get nervous. I mean, there's nerves. Nerves are for real. And you got to somehow get a rope around them, because they can really do some very difficult things, and I've had anxiety before, most anxiety I got was from being away from home. And, because I love the work part, it's the downtime that was so difficult. That's when we got in some of our best trouble, like things that would happen away from work, like meeting Prince, who would have known? Never. It just happened. Total spontaneous. And some of these other things where we get in trouble, may not be a bad trouble. It's just been like, wow, how did we end up here? Or like the guy, the security guard at, in Atlanta, it's called the Omni. We're doing like a Hawks Bulls, and we're the last people in there. We just wanted to stick around and drink a beer. We're up in the Anheuser-Busch thing. Hi, how are you doing? The meet and greet. All of a sudden, there is nobody there, and the security guy says, "Hey, he's got a gun on." We're like, "Hey, what's up? Y'all want to have a beer? Is there any beer left?" So we go, yeah, let's sit down and have a bar. And we're sitting, the three of us. We walked down a few rows, just sat there, had a beer, had the whole Omni to ourselves.
Wow.
And I remember, oh boy, uh, one of the guys had a hell of a night that night, where he wasn't there when the car showed up the next morning, and we didn't know where Joey was. So he didn't. That was, oh boy. Yeah, I can't say that one on TV, but everything was fine. And, TV stuff makes me think of, like, in Japan, some of the TVs over there. I just thought that was just the best because they're so eager to have fun. I remember I think it was TV Asahi, the producer kept coming out in the middle. I mean, we keep going. I'm going to freestyle. We got the people. They brought a basket. I thought it was cool. This is back when I was working for Kobayashi and Altoria de Hirokobo.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy kept coming out and interrupting the shot. So he came out again and said, wait a minute. And I asked the guy, stay right there. All right, you want to keep coming out here. All right, I'm trying to do my thing. Stay right there. I'm using the interpreter. Spread your feet farther apart. Put your hands down. See, I'm trying to skip the lid. I'm throwing a 165. I'm skipping the lid, and they had placed these 5 small things on like a bar counter, about 4 feet tall, like a pack of cigarettes, a cup of coffee, this like monkey doll, and something else and something else. And I was freaking skipping the disc and knocking these things off. And I got dude guy to stand there, and I skipped one right through his legs and knocked the monkey off. And I mean, I have searched high and low for this tape, but a lot of these, things that just didn't make it back, man. I had a few things, taken or not returned, and, this and that or the other, which reminds me, the world we live in now, you're on film all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, we were lucky back then that it wasn't, because, not all of the stories have good endings. So we did have some rough times. It's not like we hurt somebody or caused grief, but we did cause our own selves some unnecessary grief, potentially. But that's part of growing up.
Incrimination that may have been present. Crazy.
Just part of growing up is all.
We are 2 hours in, and
no, we're not.
People are screaming, I'm sure, at this point, saying, how are we 2 hours in? All 3 of us have used the phrase Crazy John, and yet we haven't told the story as to how and when did you officially become Crazy John Brooks?
Man, I don't honestly know. I mean, I've been called some other things before that, like when I gave up my scholarship to just sit out in the front yard of the dormitory and learn the nail delay. There was a couple adjectives before John.
But there was no one moment, one person that was like, hey, this is, dude's crazy. And it's stuck forever. It's just kind of been.
We believe it's Ace Mason, but I'm also not privy to an exact point. And believe me, you do not want this nickname. You do not want it. I certainly didn't give it to myself, but I think, as most I can remember, it was Ace he was the first person to call me Craze. And, but that's, it's still out there. I know Hal Baby, he's the one that gave Hal Baby, his nickname. I know that was Ace. But he was just such a linguist and such a wordsmith. Remember, his writing is so incredible. Ace and CD and Jim Steinhibel, Dave Carr and I started Disc International Sports Club here in Kansas City, which was a for-profit venture. We had our own newsletter, and Ace was the editor, and we did a lot of fun things with that. So I keep going back to all the things that were done before me, or at the same time I was growing up. I was being inspired by these things that Ace Mason and Tom Ingle did, and through the play that I witnessed, not on TV but through Frisbee World. So I think I'm very much regular in that sense, like a lot of people in my era. became exposed to it like we did, which leaves such a hunger. It leaves you so thirsty for more that, it becomes, it just becomes overwhelming. Anybody like yourselves, if you love something, you're going to want more of it. And we're all in the same boat. And I just, you can only do things for the first time, one time. So I think where we are now, we kind of like maybe what you're doing, showing some respect and some cred back to our pioneers and forefathers, which I love doing. Cause there was, the time was right for Frisbee to make the scene, the way it did. We're tired to bust out of the backyard,
Yeah.
It's the most amazing sporting thing there is, period.
Yeah.
Not saying other sports aren't great, but come on, this thing is crazy.
It definitely has. I mean, the flight of the Frisbee and the disc eventually with disc golf is so unique. But yeah, it's just small, minor statement about Ace Mason, who does have one of the most unique speaking voices that you'll ever hear. I had the honor and pleasure of being at his Hall of Fame induction out there in Emporia, Kansas. I was sitting second story of the Granada Theater there, and just he put me in a trance that night. I was just so locked into everything he said and the way that he says it. It's funny. I think people would think, boy, this guy, what is this guy? Just not the brightest, spoon in the drawer, but he is brilliant. He is brilliant when you actually listen to the words that are being said. So much love to Ace Mason.
And the tongue in cheek, and Ace is so vital to the actually critical mass to the PDGA's story. He's actually keeper of the binder for a little bit. Very much in touch with Steady and the powers that be. And I misplaced the other. Oh, Ned Smothers. That was a critical time. That was when history was literally in your right pocket and you had to take care of it, like the ring or the Holy Grail kind of a thing. So, our story is real. It's kind of cool. I wish they'd make another attempt at, I know the finish line's coming out soon. That's going to be great for UC and the finished story. But something that could behind the scenes, how Warren Miller would go deep, and he'd bring insight. But I think, I'm working with Dennis Warren now as much as I can. He's really still just hell bent on disc golf history in the making, and that is in the cutting room floor now. He's still compiling and looking to reveal the film next year, I'm hoping. And I'm just real honored to get his trust, help contribute in any way. But don't forget about that. We still have that to look forward to. We're always looking for fiscal support too. There's just so much to do. And Dennis, he's given all he can possibly give right now. And so we have that to look forward to, telling a little more of the story, and which you guys are part of. Thanks to the talents that we've been watching you.
Well, I mean,
you both,
that's what we're trying to do right now. I mean, that just today alone is important for me, but also for, I think, a lot of other people as well. I think when I think of you and in these days of Bud Light, I feel like you and Joey and Chip and Hal and the others that really made Anheuser-Busch recognize this thing as something that was a part of the culture, right? The culture of this 80s time frame, Stevie Ray Vaughan playing in these 200,000 person venues. When you look back and reflect, and obviously you have so many facets. We talked about Wakarusa and so many other things, but when you reflect of your cultural position at that time, I mean, what does that mean for you? Did you recognize it at the time, or is it something that we just look back on, the importance of that and how you were able to bring the flying disc to bubbling up to the very top of the culture in the United States and around the world?
kind of, it does kind of feel like we're cheerleaders of sort. You know, we were kind of performing with, yet maybe living behind the Frisbee, because that was our ultimate goal. You know, we wanted the Frisbee to be the star. I mentioned that. And, you know, do we know it? No, but things would happen like, oh, this is, you know, way before the internet. You would see a clip on a sports reel in some town where we didn't live, or you might see, excuse me, I remember, Chip, we were in, maybe, I can't remember if it was, one of the great things, we were invited to be the opening act, on the first American rock and roll tour of communist China. You know, this was a big deal. Jan and Dean, and we'd work with them a lot on spring break gigs and what have you. But I remember Chip comes in, maybe in the hotel or something, is just screaming, you guys, I'm on a pog. And there's this pog with Chipper doing a Bad Attitude catch on. I mean, what the hell how in the world? And, you know, some inadvertent, you know, likenesses. But no, of course we didn't know that was going on. We're just having too much fun. You know, we felt like we were running the world back then. It was just kind of dragging by the tail. But I think, when I think about the success element, you know, we're getting paid. So that was a huge success alone. We're making good money, like entertainment money. And I think that was very important to Joey and important to Chip and I, that Joey got respected that way, because he's the greatest. And that felt like the Bud Light team gave him an acknowledgement, like a very respectful, maybe one of the best acknowledgments you can for maintaining that level of skill. And he's inspiring the entire sport, okay? Not just the people in his town, but he's inspiring the entire world population of Frisbee freestylers still to this day. So, I mean, I feel like being able to use the team to make things like that happen, being able to use the team and its, you know, its bandwidth and budget to put Frisbee in places it could not have ever been, ever. And when we look back, you know, we can kind of see there's a little bit of pattern to, as we ran the team year after year, we would start getting bigger gigs, longer tours, longer stays, more popular markets. So we just wanted to not go backwards. You know, it made us really care about what the world was seeing from us. And, geez, I mean, they gave me every bit of creative license and artistic freedom to do whatever we did. And for what it's worth, you know, everybody walked away super friends and awesomes, and it was a great thing. I wish it was something we could do again. I think disc golf has a place in this area. You may not want the alcohol association as much as you would the marketing power that alcohol can generate. That's just one of the things about it. But I think disc golf is at a place where it can entertain offers from much larger market share products. You know, like you see the Ford brand and you see the Barbasol brand, you see these other larger marketplace brands appearing. I think that's because in this case, disc golf is generating the responsible activity and generating good numbers and metrics that the corporate world can relate to. It might not be there like right now, but I think it's going in a good direction. And definitely I see shades of the past now, where when you get to a certain spot, it gets very hard to make things go like you want. You have to take a big risk. You can't jump halfway. You know, you have to jump or not jump. So that's what I hope for. I hope the corporate world can wake up more and more and be pleased with more and more of what they see, like on Disc Golf Network and what have you, and have the all the necessary parts in the engine that is disc golf meet the need of these brands too, because it's a two-way street. You don't just wear the suit to go to church. You got to listen to the sermon. And, when you can do that, you can start a really powerful relationship. So many people just need money, but a sponsorship is a different type of an arrangement. It's a give and take. It's a professional roll call, and it's your performance. When you're a professional sponsorship, this, your performance is everything, because it's 24/7. It's on and off the course.
Oh,
that's all there's to
100%. I would say that in my experience, nothing of what I've done in my career even compares to what you did in that slice of time with Anheuser-Busch. I mean, you're dealing with, Mr. Busch at that time, and for a long time until more recently when Anheuser-Busch sort of fell apart and was sold and all these things. I mean, these people were iconic in this country. And you're performing for them, working for them, being held at an extremely high standard. I mean, as a disc golf player, I would say, boy, can you just leave me alone? I want to prepare. I got to play hole 2 at, whatever course perfectly. Just stop bothering me. That really wasn't available to you. It was, no, man, tomorrow we're at the NFL game. Then we're going to the Villanova game. Then we got to go down to Stevie's show. And you had to show up every single time. That's something special, Craze. And I don't think I don't know how you feel about it, but the way that I see it from my outside looking in, I don't think anything that we do compares to that, even today.
Well, bless your heart. I mean, I do feel, it's maybe, one of the luckiest people around.
We think about lights, camera, action, everything you just talked about. We'll go into the disc golf network side of things, and just overall career of doing all these things that involve crowds, performances, MCs, galleries, all of that. All right, that all bubbles and starts to come to a head in a live disc golf scenario. Disc Golf Planet. 2007, 2008-ish time frame, right?
10.
2010? 2010. Everything you've seen, and then all of a sudden, you and I, for instance, and I'd known you for years, you and I, along with a dozen other people, for the first time ever, I'm getting a mic put on me or being handed a microphone, and a bunch of different teams are being randomly assembled for 15 minutes at a time at the USDGC. We have live disc golf, thanks to John Dusler and Terry Roddy. We're now dabbling in the world of live disc golf. Take us to some of those earliest days of what you recall from the live disc golf world 16 years ago now.
Yeah. Kudos to Dr. John Dusler and, Terry. It's a magical combination.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I think, you talk about a match made in heaven. I mean, this is a great example of how these things actually do happen. But when I think when you think about Disc Golf Planet TV, it's a bit of a perfect storm, but it was just like one cloud, one bolt of lightning, it was just a compact thing that, through nothing but sheer determination, perseverance, and some luck was able to, catch and grow some, which we were both able to, work with John to help that. You'd hope. I mean, technology was really the only imperfect part of that world. And I think another thing, it's a cool thing about Dusler to know, bless his heart, and Kaze Ariel's doing as well as they are now, and that area of pro sports, which is, they're pioneers in pro sports photography. You would remember that disc golf, we just talked about how it's ready now. It can float a bigger boat now, and it has a lot of fuel in its engine. It has a lot of wherewithal and bandwidth with a lot of the gained support of recent. Back then, a little bit of support only got you a little bit of results. So that's the kind of battle Dr. John was up against. And, Terry, and then you and Dave Greenwell were there before I was, but this is a labor of love. You don't have a paycheck waiting for you necessarily. Things, if you got help, it was thin, but it was genuine. So, I think I would rather turn the table back to like you and Nate and your other compatriots at Disc Golf Network. I would like to toss it back to you and say that this is an example of how deep your Frisbee and how deep your disc golf spirit is that you're willing to go in that direction to help that effort, because there's some balance to achieve. The media, which you have, you have the media as a force, I want to call it, that you can put underneath the sport. The media is going to push it to higher points. But that's where, for instance, you two and other people in that realm are giving of themselves, not on the course, but off the course. You see, it's a number of layers to you, for instance, that made you want to help disc golf in any way you can, but in this case was that way. Not everybody's cut out for it. And Terry, you've never left that chair, so that's a good thing that you can look back as for your accountability, is that you're still wanting to help, still wanting to do good, still wanting to help, propel the sport. Nate, full phase experience for you. So it's kind of a dream job, a dream scenario to get to go full circle. I'm not a fan of my voice, which I'm sure I'm not, it may not matter in the big picture, but again, I'm just somebody that wants the best for disc golf. I want the best for my sport, no matter who it is or who's on either side of the camera or whatever. It's a fun job. It's a fun way to give love. I love showing love out there, giving back. So, I think where you guys are kind of in a similar seat. If you want to compliment me, I have to compliment you right back, because we're in a bit of a shared same frame of mind when we do those things. That's to help the sport. It's very important. You need it. So, kudos back to you. You can do well off the course and make big results happen, just like you are.
Well,
you're on a course physically, but spiritually, I'm not sure that works out.
I just think,
but you know what I mean. I know you do.
I think that the heart and soul of what your generation and Stork's generation, and even earlier with Fred Morrison and Steady Ed and these inventors, it is passed down almost generation by generation through DNA or through osmosis or whatever it is, to say we're always going to be giving back. I would say that the most people in our world, our sphere, are always trying to give back, and that's because people have set this example from the early days. People that I was around in the early days always gave to me, and I thought, boy, I always just have to give that back to the next group of people. And so I don't know. I think that's just sort of ingrained, and that's one of the reasons why we've made it 50 years with disc golf specifically. But I think in those early days in the 70s, when things were starting to organize, you had all these horses, you had all these different disciplines. They were all going, and eventually disc golf just sort of peaked out along with ultimate, the flying disc, and all like that. But Craze, you kind of glazed over it a little bit, this trip to China, but also Japan. We've talked to Dan Roddick, we've talked to Sammy Ferrens. A lot of people went to Japan, and you had the opportunity to go to China. What is it what is it about Asia, that area of Asia, that was interested in Frisbee, or how was it taken in culturally? I feel like you're one of the few people that can speak from a cultural perspective in those areas.
Well, two drastically different parts of the world and histories. My head is just kicking me to throw this in about Dusler. Terry reminded me because of 2010. Terry, do you remember that they used to pack about 1.5 miles of four-way cable to stretch, and that's to put one camera at the end of, okay? So let's go live over to our camera on hole 7. Well, I mean, they didn't realize, it took us 1.5 days to lay the cable so we can take a 15-second shot, But back in the day, it was so heavy of a footprint, and, you and Johnny V doing your thing, and the tent, those saunas of the tent, you're in there, and switcher burning up, and, all the things that could go wrong. And I can remember Dusler getting pissed at this fixed dish. We had an on-ground dish one time. He nudged it, unfortunately, the wrong way, lost signal, never got signal back. I remember Myers was around one time. Terry Roddy got Jim Myers into the industry also.
Right.
He was coming up on like 25 years or so, or 15 years or so. But remember how heavy of a horse it was back then. And, Dusler working so hard to find the support, just the wherewithal to get from city to city. It was a big thing. And I'm glad that gave way. Remember the Smashbox came of that. Really happy to see, how you were able to plant that garden. That's still good. You're still making salad out of that, huh? Some good work, man. Way to go.
Be on it right after this.
Yeah. I mean, real quick to your point. First of all, thank you for the accolades or praise. But, my time with you and my time at Disc Golf Planet was the entire formative years of my media side. I had no aspirations of being in media. I was not a public speaker or someone that was emceeing every other week like you were, in a previous life or career. And so my time spent with you and Greenwell and Myers or Oates and Rebecca Duffy, just all of those people, Mace Man, so on and so forth. Every one of those people that I had the chance to sit next to in a booth or on a sideline to learn about the entire disc golf broadcasting industry, which Dusler and Roddy and Rich were blazing the trail. And people like Crazy and I were just, standing there with a case of beer. Either we had to pour it out onto the fire or we were going to be drinking it as our payment later. That was the extent of it. And I know I would not be where I am and doing what I'm doing, without having the guidance of Dusler, of Roddy, and then the relationship with you. I mean, to this day, I cannot say this enough. And I used to think of it, I didn't know how complimentary it was, but it is meant in the highest of compliments. Watching you MC at a World Championships, and you would be MCing, I think, the 2009 Hall of Fame ceremony or opening the Worlds. And I remember saying at that time and many times after in working with you, Crazy John can open his mouth and start a sentence and have no idea where it's going, but he would get you there so eloquently and beautifully. And you probably did know where it was going, but sometimes I was like, I don't know if this guy knows where he's going with this sentence, but somehow it always made sense. The vocabulary, just being a thesaurus that you are, a thesaurus that you are, just everything. I to this day, I'm constantly in awe of you being able, you could have zero notes or in no way be formally prepared and to show up and entertain and talk for 2 hours without breaking a sweat. And I have admired that and told that to thousands of people over these last 15 or 20 years that I've known you. And it's just been such an inspiration to watch. It's what you've done and what you did back then in having these conversations about disc golf and to flower up our descriptions of what was happening on the course, I still think have never been matched. And I envy so much of what you've done. And I just wanted to formally thank you. I've said it to lots of others and maybe to you, but if not before, I'll say it again. It's thanks to you. And I'll end that by saying I also can't believe that a few years of us working together, I one time look over and see you with your headset on, and we just had this incredible moment in disc golf history, and we're doing all of this stuff, and I look over and you're wearing your headset and your vest and everything else, and I look down and your headset's not even plugged in. You're wearing it for the look to give us this formal broadcast, and it was just one of those moments I may never forget. It was absolutely incredible what you brought day in and day out. So I want to say thank you. That's what I can say.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah, incredible.
I will say, Crazy, you pass that along. You pass that along to Terry, because there's a lot of times when Terry starts talking, I don't think he knows where the hell it's going, man.
Just reach over and unplug his headset.
He's sitting there next to me.
Get him on track.
Where are we going? But the similar to you and to him, we trust. We trust where it's going there.
Yeah.
And wow.
Yeah, I didn't want to derail things, but I wanted to get that in.
Amazing,
so,
Terry, that was unbelievable.
I do,
thanks
but
a lot,
because
Terry.
you're welcome. Because of those things, because of everything maybe I just said and then some, in all of those years, as Nate was talking about, performing in Asia or being present, emceeing and being there in Japan all those years. Is there any stone unturned? Is there any box you need to check yet in terms of, on a bucket list, things you want to do in
Honestly, I still want to go back into broadcasting. I still want to walk and talk disc golf again. It's one of my favorite things. I've been, since the Disc Golf Planet TV run, I've had more time to, look into things and time to breathe and, self-assess and practice and, relearn, rethink, reconceive. And, I feel I have so much more insight now and so much more respect. And remember the production values that we dealt with back then. I mean, folks can't imagine the work that we do. I get up there and talk, but I'm also there at 6 a.m, putting up the tents, dressing the set, installing the monitors, running cables, whatever John says. And, working to help Terry because it was such a team effort. But, that I feel really well suited for that. I like the team. I like the team feel, I like the team chemistry, what that team feel can bring, So, I feel that like the way the Disc Golf Network has positioned itself now is so much more of the technology has been, reconfigured, defined, tested, retested, perfected. We're literally, a lot of people don't know this, but Dr. John Dusler and Disc Golf Planet TV was one of the early test applications for
live streaming.
For the backpacks.
Live view.
Live view.
And
for live view.
Yeah.
And so that was a great thing that was going on. And, he used the equipment to test it to its max. If you remember, some of the failure was by design. That was an internal stress test that he was doing for live view. So when we'd have to get the mules to help with the packs and everything, remember Rebecca Duffy out there just huffing it, sometimes would carry her own equipment, stand out in that hot sun, So this was a lot of pioneering on all levels. And to find that here we are again, kind of being able to feel special, that disc golf actually was partially responsible for helping that sports technology occur and become perfected. And now, I see the products are in the field now for DGN. So, this is a good connection to that story, and isn't it just cool that it's a Frisbee that's still in the story? I guess that means you're doing something good.
Yeah, and, I will say to this day, even from a disc golf network perspective, some of our representatives that go to these NABs and these trade shows, and they're explaining what we're doing. And there's genuinely other broadcasting setups and networks and sports that are impressed. And I know there's a lot of criticism of not all the bells and whistles working. Most people just have no idea that on the budget ultimately disc golf is on, we're still doing things that are far more complicated than almost every other sporting event out there in terms of the budget. We're not hardwiring and have all these limitations, and we're literally roaming around in the woods. And we always say, well, we don't want to be in the city. We want to be, out in the woods in the middle of nowhere. Well, that's where the worst signal is. And I'm not going to derail all of this, but to this day, it's still, like you said, that common thread has still been disc golf, but we're a difficult industry to cover and to perfect. And it's been a long time coming, all these years.
Terry, you just mentioned another thing I wish players would also give themselves a little more credit for is you're watching the sport grow because of these assets that are being developed, because you can watch yourself now after the round is over, because you can get inside that viewer's mind and go, wow, when you see yourself on the screen or see yourself and watch the lower third, here comes your name now, and wow, this is great. You see, that, I believe, is part of how freestyle was also in the beginning. Once you see yourself on tape or on the camera, oh my gosh, behind the weather, whatever, you go, wow, that looks cool. Oh, I wish I'd have done that higher. Or, it's a very fast moving, recurring cycle. When you see yourself, you self-critique. When you self-critique, you self-improve. So the players are, through the miracles that are the Pro Tour and the Disc Golf Network and the PDGA and what it contributes, you're building the player. It does trickle down to where the player is performing better due to the exposure and the inspiration you receive from watching yourself. It's true. No matter what, I think hands down, anybody sees himself on TV in that kind of environment, a musician or an acrobat or whatever, it's going to make you do better. It's going to make you play harder, try harder. So it's very, very good circle that's going on.
It is. And
so not just COVID helped us. Okay. Everything is helping. Everything is helping right now.
I totally agree. And one of the reasons we're sitting here right now today is because not a lot of those shots were covered for a long time. And I personally have always just enjoyed listening to the stories. Even today, and I've known you for a long time, even today I heard things that I've never heard you say before to me. And I think that that's why we're doing this. And I've been telling people we're in a very fortunate situation to be so close to the beginning of something, right? I mean, just think about anything that's 50 years old. I can't put a finger on it, but like we're still within 50 years. We can still talk to most of the people. Do I wish that I could pull Steady Ed up out of the grave and get him, yeah, I would love to. But I can talk to people who knew Steady Ed, and we can live through and vicariously through that. But not all the shots were covered. They weren't all covered, and now they are, and people take that for granted. There was a time when we just did it to drive home Sunday night, and this is even me, and I'm considered a part of this generation in a way, just to drive home Sunday night to tell everybody that you worked with what you did Monday morning, right? And that's what we call the weekend warrior, and now we take it for granted that the network exists and that Jomez exists and all the people that kind of built us up to where we are now. So yeah, I'm obviously extremely grateful for that, but I'm also more grateful right now for the people who brought us to this point, right? That, they say it all the time. It's the shoulders of giants. Yeah, that's where we're at right now. And you're one of those giants, Craze. You really are.
Bless you, Nate.
You really are.
Bless you. Thank you for saying that. While we're on that topic too, something that makes me happy for not just the players, but for our part of the sports world history, or the world sports history, is that you're producing, high quality historic documents, we can say. When we talk about the lack of the shot, the lack of the capture, the lack of the cameras present, it's a heartbreaker for us. Those are people of my age and other part of this original handful of generations to play. So many wonderful things happened, but there is no photographic evidence. There was no captures. So that is a real heartbreaker. So I want people to know that the Disc Golf Network is a blessing without any disguise at all. And, if you're not supporting the Disc Golf Network, I don't think it's very fair for you to enjoy it as freely as I want you to. I want you to support anything that does this much good for disc golf. Yeah, it's not of a monetary type. You know what I mean? It means any mention, any reference, make it a positive one. And, we're watching history still be developed here. We're not over the run. We're not climbed the mountain yet, but we have never been in such a good state of exposure, and our range is bigger than ever. Thus our potential. So there's a lot of things that are working very well right now in concert to keep this train at its current speed. You hope that can maintain itself. History says it doesn't. It needs more help. But we're on a hell of a ride right now. A lot of people to thank for it. So I'm glad you're wording it the way you are too, because I'm just one of the many and many before me. So means a lot. And it is all connected somehow. All the dots are connected in this picture. It's freaking amazing.
It truly is. And I asked Tita Ugalde, I said, what is the secret to life? She's a beautiful human being, and I just love Tita. And I asked her that, and she said, gratitude. She just said gratitude. And I truly believe that to be true. It's a common thread of a lot of the great people that I've met in my life is gratitude for what they've been given and what they've been able to achieve and what they've been able to give back to people.
You're
Craze, I want to broach a conversation here. We are.
Yeah, I evaded your Asia and all that stuff.
No.
And I didn't mean to, but
I blame on Terry. That's Terry's fault, which is totally fine.
Okay,
but I wanted to broach.
That works for me.
I wanted to broach this conversation because we're going to let you go here, but. We talked to Stork Roddick, and he gave us some shit, and he said,
love you.
He said, hey, because we said we want to have you back. And he said, well, everybody says they want to have me back, but they never do. And Terry and I, we made a promise. And these are promises that we're going to keep. I don't care what the hell we're doing. We're going to do this again. And I want to promise that to you right now, because you said a similar thing to me, and I don't like it because you have a unique position in life to be able to give us knowledge. Okay. And I want to continue to get that knowledge from you. And I purposefully today avoided getting to your disc golf career. Okay. We talked a little bit about disc golf, and that's why we're going to have you back, because not only did you captain the Bud Light team and help Anheuser-Busch promote having a good time and had a good time yourself, you were a monumental figure in disc golf, throwing a disc, making putts, performing shots. You were one of the people that influenced me, okay? You were the very first.
Great.
You were the very first. And so we have to have...
Let's go, Rochi!
We have to have you back to talk about disc golf, because I think it's important how you transition to that. And so I want to commit to it right now. We're going to talk to you again. And but before we let you go,
want me to just come back in an hour? I'm just go to the bathroom, make a sandwich. I'll see you back 9:15 or so.
We need a few beers. I got to put Luca to sleep. But before we let you go, Crazy John, I want to leave.
Yes,
I want to leave you with the final word for today's conversation. It was a true blessing. So thank you for being with us today.
Thanks, Nate. Terry, you guys have created your own little weather system, the two of you. And, I know there's a lot of things around the corner that we have no idea about. That's the exciting thing, is if we do good things today, if we make an effort to do things together, and if we simply be responsible for our individual part, that, my friend, is a success. And you can take it anywhere, any time of the day. It's okay. Safety in numbers. But in this case, the number one works perfectly, because we are a bit of a solo sport, disc golf. I kind of would challenge, next time we talk about disc golf, we have to talk about, we got to give we got to tell a couple steady stories. I wish people knew more about steady. And there's that photographic, void that I wish wasn't there, but we can still give people some nice color picture. Boy, I can remember getting some trouble with Steady and Nelson on a couple road trips. Oh, I might have to put some tape over the camera.
Yeah.
I might have to tape off my camera. But it's just most fun wins. I'm going to tell you, especially up in those parts. And, we talk about, we'll have a chance to talk about the things that make you happy. I think that we need to talk more about that. There's plenty of stuff on the news that can pull us away from where our clearer thoughts are. So for the people that are really putting disc golf first in their life, I want to let those people know, especially, man, you're doing a good thing. This is not going to let you down. You just can't fake it. You got to live it. If you're going to call it a dream, then you have to live it, and you have to live it, man. So, I think the future looks really bright as long as we keep working hard. I think we're a good spot, especially when things like this can happen in technology. You guys were, almost like I couldn't even tie my shoe, but you called me and walked me through it. That's what friends do, So what a family we are blessed with. I feel that, man. We're just one big old family. So, it's a good thing. It's a really good thing. Feeling lucky here. Susan, me saying thank you back to you guys for the love. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Craze. Already excited to episode 2 here.
Round 2.
With
Terry, I'll
2.
make some notes. Next time.
Okay.
I wrote tonight's notes had all my notes written on this matchbook cover, and I spilled Gatorade on it. So I couldn't use it the whole time. I had it all planned out. I was going through
you'll be
the
prepped
60s.
for part 2, and we're already looking forward to it.
And I hope Sam didn't talk about playing trombone on the water tower in my underwear.
He talked about all sorts of shit about
Japanese
you.
Army.
I don't know.
No.
We're gonna leave that one for you. We will leave that one for you.
Oh shit! Okay. Oh shit, man! All right.
Crazy John.
Okay, bless you.
We love you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
God bless you.
Love you back.
And thank you for everything you've done. And we look forward to round number 2. This is at least a 4-round tournament, so we're just getting going. Have a wonderful evening.
Right.
We love you, Crazy John. And all you got to do, my friend, is hit the little red leave button. And Terry,
I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing it. I'm going to run your phone bill up good and high.
Well, all right. Well, then just sit there.
Oh, hey, there's another one. I can tell you about Monkey Man when he left me a $12,900 phone bill in my apartment in Santa Barbara. $12,000.
Put it in the notes.
Thanks, Monkey.
Put it in the notes.
Jeez. Yeah. Love you back. Thanks, Terry. Keep doing your thing.
Thank you, buddy.
Love you guys a lot.
You.
Much respect.
Love you, Crazy.
Domo arigato gozaimashita.
Domo arigato gozaimashita. Hi. Arigato. Love ya. Oh, it's, I gotta say, it's tough to say goodbye, if I'm being honest.
Yes. I mean, he's just getting warmed up.
I know.
As all good storytellers do. You round that 3-hour mark, or get to it. And that's when you're like, oh yeah, now I'm just finally, found his pace. So yeah, as you said, it's a no-brainer. We've got so much to talk about, and another teaser to put out there. Not only does he have his golf world and career to talk about, other incredible moments. The fact that he, in fact, married you and Val out there in Oregon more than a decade ago, and just so many other things that we clearly have to hear more stories from the legendary Crazy John. I will quickly say, as one of my final thoughts to this, I am blown away that there's not, I don't know if I am blown away actually, that there's not a specific point where Crazy just became crazy, right? Like, it was a buildup to like, oh, that dude's just crazy, and then it stuck, apparently. I thought there was going to be one specific person, one specific story to it, but it seems also very fitting. You just I don't want to say you simplify him, but you can generalize him. He's crazy.
You know what? It's an iconic nickname. Everybody will know Crazy John Brooks forever. And funny enough, I get the sense, I can't say this for a fact, that he doesn't like it in a way. In a way, he doesn't like it because Crazy John Brooks is a very serious person. I think we saw that tonight. We saw that in him. He really managed that Bud Light team. He didn't just, he fucked around, and they're doing all the things that you could imagine is happening in the 70s and 80s, especially in a rock and roll environment. But he took it very, very serious, and I to me, he'll always be Craze, and I thank Ace Mason for giving him that nickname. But he's just so much more than a nickname. I mean, he just is. I mean, he just is. And like I said, it's hard for me to say goodbye even in this moment. That was such a wonderful 3 hours to hear. We've talked to people that were special, and they're all special. And we're going to talk to so many special people, but there's nobody like John Brooks. It just doesn't exist. He is a true one of a kind. So that was awesome, T-Dog. I think you were trying to get him a little emotional with talking about the live stuff, man. That got to him a little bit. It means a lot to him.
I'm certainly not trying to get anyone to any specific point, but I know, some of my deepest roots and memories and development within disc golf media came with that guy sitting next to me or hanging out. It might have been me and Dave Greenwell on camera with Crazy 6 feet away saying something or helping us out or whatever. And to just learn so much from him. I don't even think he was trying to teach me, but he was the entire time. He was that mentor. And Yeah, so talented, just in so many ways. So then watch him, pick up a trombone, to then go MC something, to then go tell a joke, to then go hit a 60-foot putt for fun, to then sit down and do a broadcast. Like, it just truly doing it all and doing it in such an entertaining fashion.
It was always about the entertainment. It was always about the show. He put that above everything, even to this day. He puts it above everything, and you can tell even how hard it is to say goodbye for him, how much it means to him. He would talk about this stuff all night long if we could do it. And anyways, that was amazing, Terry. Crazy John Brooks, round number 1 for Craze. We'll talk to him at some point down the road, but a special dude. And just think, we didn't even touch on a single disc golf round that he played, basically. Basically.
No,
and
I know.
I'm telling you,
so there's so much more.
The things I've seen him do in a disc golf course, I've almost seen nobody else do. The timing is incredible. He just happened to come up in a time when there was a guy named Ken Climo. So
right.
That was younger.
PDGA 2022. And also, he's got countless titles, but also, of course, in the World Disc Golf Hall of Fame. So Crazy John Brooks, 2022.
What a day. What a conversation. Thank you, Terry. And that's right. The Out of Production podcast is out. You better be down with the OOP.
Yeah, you know me. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Of course, it always helps us if you're going out on Spotify or you're going out on Apple or anywhere else where you get your podcasts. If you give us a high rating, that helps with being able to be seen. But we hope that everyone's enjoying this wherever they can. And if you can, give us a review or share it with some others that might find it entertaining or enlightening or educational, however you take it. We're happy to provide it.
All right.
Thanks for coming along. All right, Nate, we're out.
We're out. Much love, everybody. Good night.
All right, we'll see you guys at the next one.